Okay, alhamdulillah. And Hassan, do you want to just make me host, inshallah?
Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Webinar is now streaming live.
We're live. Good to see everybody again.
Allah.
You guys missed us yet for the third time? Take three.
Man, I've never seen the CAIR-Florida team make so much du'as, mashallah. And perhaps it's a blessing. Allah wanted to hear our voices praying to him, asking for help with all the technical issues. But I'm so glad we're finally live. And I want to apologize to everybody for the technical difficulties. We're experts in civil rights, not technology. But you know what? With your generous support, maybe we can afford to also become experts in technology. Again, thank you, everybody, for joining us and coming on. And I'm going to pass the floor back on to whoever is going to take the lead right now. I think it's Sister Yasmin. Listen, before let me welcome Sister Yasmin. Is Sister Yasmin, you're next right now, right?
I am, man. That's
okay, dude. Sister, yes, I was just telling her, I can't believe how like successful and famous she's become since me and her were just interns back in CAIR. Oh my God, what year was that? My God, it was like 2005.
2005, 2004, something like that.
It was 2005. I remember because I still have my certificate on my wall at CAIR-Florida.
Well, I don't have my certificate because I never finished my internship program.
What?
I know. I know. I never finished it, but so I can't take credit. But I love that I got to meet not just you, but like a group full of like excellent human beings, and that's the kind of work that CAIR does. I think it brings people together who are very sincere and who want to do good for the community. So it's great to see you kind of like you like drank that Kool-Aid hard. You were like, I'm going to become the executive director of the whole Florida chapter. I'm gonna shut this down. You were like, CAIR. If there was like a super CAIR award, you would win.
Oh, alhamdulillah. Well, it was just so inspiring, and honestly, I was really inspired by the other interns like yourself, Ali Farouk. I remember Tanzila, Shayma, so great friends.
Dalia Ayubi.
Dalia, subhanallah. So it was amazing. I remember the first day when they hired me here in Florida. I called Corey Saylor, who I interned under him, and I got caught like sleeping a lot during my internship.
I'm surprised they gave you a certificate, Hassan.
I know, right? So I called like, yo, you're not gonna believe what happened. I'm like, I wrote the whole chapter now. But anyway, it was an honor to intern with you, and we're very honored to have you join us today. So thank you and welcome, and I appreciate you.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. So this telethon started off a little bit choppy, but what telethon isn't a little bit choppy when it's been forced to go online? All of us are sort of barely making it in this quarantine, and I hope that all of you just don't have enough food in your system to be angry anyways. Okay. You're not even upset right now. You're just thinking about,
you saw him.
You know, exactly. You're just thinking about fried chicken. So it's fine. We're so excited to be presenting all these amazing speakers. AbdelRahman Murphy is here. This Ustad is incredible. He's going to be up speaking. Dr. Dalia Fahmy is here. We're going to start off by also kicking it off with the Quran, because this is what it's about. It's the month, it's the shahr of the Quran. Internationally well-known qari, nasheed artist, poet, and all-around cool guy, Faisal Latif is going to be joining us to start with the beautiful words, and we're really excited to hear from him. Faisal Latif from Tampa. How are you doing? Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, how are you doing? Jazakallah khair for the kind introduction.
Oh man, me and you go way back this Ramadan.
This Ramadan. All right. Bismillah. So I'm going to start, inshallah, with Surah Al-Fatiha, and then I'm going to recite a couple of verses from Surah An-Nisa, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولو على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين إن يكن غنيا أو فقيرا فالله أولى بهما فلا تتبعوا الهوى أن تعدلوا وإن تلووا أو تعرضوا فإن الله كان بما تعملون خبيرا يا أيها الذين آمنوا آمنوا بالله ورسوله والكتاب الذي نزل على رسوله والكتاب الذي أنزل من قبل ومن يكفر بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر فقد ضل ضلالا بعيدا صدق الله العظيم.
Bismillah, mashallah. Thank you, Brother Faisal. That was incredible. Are you going to be joining us later? Or just
yes, I am, inshallah.
Tell us what you're going to do later.
Inshallah, I'm going to perform a couple pieces towards the end of the program. Maybe a little bit of nasheed and some poetry.
Oh my gosh, so excited. As always, for those of you who want to stick around, you have to stay. You You can't leave so we can hear from the wonderful Faisal, his beautiful voice, mashallah, using every melodic key to hopefully pull on your heartstrings to remember why you're here, which is to support CAIR-Florida.
Thank you, Yasmin, and thank you, everybody. And yes, just to reiterate that thank you, everyone, for your support. Alhamdulillah, that indeed it is the month of Ramadan. So inshallah, we've been working on our reserves of patience, and also that, you know, this is the qadr of Allah. So this is the way that it was supposed to be. I think this is maybe the best platform for us to use to get to you, our program, inshallah. So Yasmin, we're gonna switch it up because I know that you know, folks have been so patient, so we want to reward them, inshallah. Yes. And we're gonna go ahead and start the program with Ustaz AbdelRahman Murphy, inshallah, if you want to give a quick introduction.
Fantastic. So Ustaz AbdelRahman Murphy is an instructor at the Qalam Institute. He currently resides in Dallas right now, in Texas, with his 2 children. And he is just an incredible voice for young Muslims growing up in the West. He's a convert himself. He grew up in Chicago. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about why supporting organizations like CAIR-Florida is really about protecting people's identities. And we're so excited to hear from him. He is right now the director of the Roots community space, and you can see him all the time in his Heartworks program. So without further ado, Ustaz AbdelRahman Murphy.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Assalamu alaikum, Yasmin. Assalamu alaikum. Hope everyone, inshallah, is doing well. It's an honor to be here. I'm also 1 hour behind you guys on the East Coast, so we're chilling. Alhamdulillah. Just sitting here actually waiting and honestly trying to make the best of my time, just reading through the 25th juz in preparation for tonight, inshallah. So, you know, there's no such thing as wasted time in Ramadan. There's always an opportunity to do something if you got technical difficulties, and that goes for the viewers as well. You know, if you're waiting for something because you want to contribute, be part of this program, and make sure that you're defending, you know, human rights and civil liberties, especially for everybody, but particularly for those who are vulnerable communities, then you can make use of your time. Just pop open your phone. I literally have my iPad here and I'm just reading through, trying to get ready. You know, we are so close to the end of this blessed month. It's tragic. It's actually very sad to think that this is the last Sunday of Ramadan. It's a really, really you know, sobering thing to think. So may Allah Ta'ala make us people who take advantage of whatever we have left, inshallah. And actually, Yasmin introduced me, mashallah, so kindly and too much. But I'm actually, it's interesting. I'm actually not a convert. My father is, but I will. She's like going crazy right now, saying sorry. I will tell you a funny story about, you know, this reality. So my dad gets no credit. Like, my dad is actually the one who actually had to like accept Islam, and like, and poor guy, because his last name is Murphy and because my last name is Murphy, you know, he doesn't get any credit for that. But it's interesting because I've gone overseas to the UK, and I'll never forget, it was at Sheffield. There's a university there that was hosting a program, and I was doing a class for them, and I came and I walk in, and I kid you not, there's probably, you know, a few hundred people in the auditorium, and I'm not joking, guys, on the screen, massive screen, like billboard sized projection, it says, "My Convert Story, How I Came to Islam" by AbdelRahman Murphy. And I walk in and I'm like, what do I do here? Like, there's two options. Like, do I like tell them the truth and ruin their program, or do I make up something as I go along? And so I began the talk by making something up just as like a joke. And I said it all started in Russia in 1988. And everyone was confused. So then I clarified, and we actually talked a little bit about, you know, some of the honor of the companions of the Prophet, how they were converts to Islam, and how the origin of being a Muslim is converting. And it's weird for people to be born into Islam. So for those people who are born into it, like, there should be no sense of entitlement, right? Because all the Sahaba in the early stages, the ones that we hear about their names, you know, Abu Bakr and Abu Huraira and Umar, and you know, all these amazing people, Khadija radiallahu anha, Ali radiallahu anha, they were all converts to Islam. So nevertheless, Jazakallah khairan, and it's something, you know, mashallah, I think it's one of the things that makes our religion so beautiful, honestly, is that we celebrate everyone's own journey to faith. Everybody, whether it's somebody who, you know, was born Muslim and then maybe like lost touch and re-engaged, or whether it was somebody who you know, accepted Islam later on in life, like everybody, especially in the month of Ramadan, comes together and they just worship Allah together. And nobody knows and nobody cares. And all that matters is that you love Allah and His Messenger. That's all that matters.
Sheikh AbdelRahman, if it makes you feel better, I've been asked a lot of people approach me a lot, and there's two questions they ask me. The first is, brother, are you a convert or are you Syrian?
That's so, listen, that's spot on, mashallah. Syrians have those light features.
Yeah, the second is, hey, are you that instructor from Qalam, what's his name, Sheikh Murphy? I'm like, no, he's my better looking twin.
It's okay. I get asked, you know, what I'm doing, you know, whether or not, or what I'm doing in Dallas, because aren't I Sohaib Webb and shouldn't I be in New York? So right, it's literally just a never-ending cycle of people mistaking you know, us for each other. But alhamdulillah, I always tell people when they say, you know, oh man, you look like Sohaib, or you look like Hassan Shibly, or you look like, I get Leonardo DiCaprio, which I don't even believe, to be honest with you, but I'm much more of a Kevin Love myself. But
you wish.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, my wife doesn't find him attractive, so I don't really, you know, no harm there, no loss. But whenever I do, I always, you know, marvel in the great people that I'm being compared to. Leo and the Revenant was phenomenal. Anyways, I wanted to switch gears and talk about something that was actually going to be beneficial. You know, CAIR-Florida is something that's actually really, really personal for me. It's something very deep. I connect with it very deeply. The organization, the people. Hassan, I've known now for at least a few years, alhamdulillah, in person. We've known each other online, but I've met him in person. I'll never forget the first time we met. I basically was in, I want to say Orlando. I was somewhere nearby, and he just came and picked me up and drove me to like a variety of restaurants in one evening. And we ate like numerous times together. Alhamdulillah, we tried the appetizer here and a main course there. And he was so hospitable. And, ever since that moment, I want to be honest, ever since that moment, I believed in the work that CAIR-Florida did. And the reason why is because you can tell a lot about an organization by the people that belong in that organization. You can tell a lot. The character, the generosity, the grace, the compassion, all of that. If the individuals in an organization have that, this is something that Sheikh Abdel Nasser is very big on, by the way, at Qadam, is that the organization is nothing more than just the accumulation of the hearts that are in that organization. So when you meet people from CAIR-Florida and you are able to talk to them, experience them, Lara, mashallah, has been emailing me every hour, not only about this telethon, but also has been in contact with me about some of the travel issues that I've had, because I reached out to CAIR-Florida and was asking them to help me. I've been held in secondary for hours, like 6 hours, while my son is in the luggage area with my wife crying. We have no more diapers left. We just come back from an international trip. And Hassan and his team were the only people that were there when I called to help. And so these kinds of moments and these kinds of character traits are things that we have to get behind and support. Those people who are there for us, you know what I mean? And really, subhanAllah, before it's too late, you need to make sure that things like CAIR exist. CAIR-Florida has to exist so that when you do come upon a moment when you need this help, that it's not, I wish I was supportive when they were there. So we have to be proactive in this regard. And subhanAllah, this idea of the person being so valuable to the work that they're doing is something that even people who didn't like the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, even people who were self-identified, maybe antagonists towards Islam in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, even they acknowledge this. There's a story about Abu Bakr as-Siddiq that is so amazing. It's narrated actually by his daughter, Aisha radiallahu anha. And she actually tells the story about how Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was treated during the days of Mecca. And she tells the story because, it's firsthand. She's hearing it from her father. She's able to learn firsthand from her father the pain that he went through. And so she tells the story, and she says that there was a time during the thick of all the torture and all the persecution and harassment of the Muslims in Mecca, there was a moment in which Abu Bakr as-Siddiq had decided that, you know what, I'm going to just go and I'm just going to leave. I can't deal with this anymore. It's way too difficult. And so he decided that he was going to make the first hijrah before he was blessed with the hijrah of the Prophet ﷺ to Medina. He was going to make the first hijrah with the group that went to Abyssinia. He was going to leave. He wanted safety and security. And so Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he got all his things ready and he left. And as he left out of Mecca, there was like an outskirts area. The hadith says, "Hatta idha balagha barq al-ghimad," until he reached an area known as Barq al-Ghimad. Okay, laqiyahu ibn Daghina, and then he meets somebody whose name was Ibn Daghina. Who's Ibn Daghina? Ibn Daghina is wahuwa Sayyid al-Qarati, that he's one of the leaders of this area in Mecca, in the Hijaz. He's a leader. He's known as like a leader of a tribe. He's somebody who's respected. He's somebody who's revered. And he meets Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and it's not no one's hiding the fact that Abu Bakr is Muslim and Ibn Daghina is not. And Ibn Daghina, as many of the leaders of the time were, was against Islam, against the Prophet ﷺ. So faqala, he says, "Aina turidu ya Abu Bakr?" Where are you going? Where are you headed? And faqala Abu Bakr, "Akhrajani qawmi." Abu Bakr responds with like so heartfelt, subhanAllah. He says, "My people have kicked me out, man. My people have made me leave." And Abu Bakr is like a Meccan. Abu Bakr is like a Meccan. Like he is like from Mecca. He is somebody that is loved. He's so respected. His knowledge of lineage, his knowledge of, he was an encyclopedia. People used to come to him and ask him questions about their family history and their lineage. He was Ancestry.com before it even existed. People relied upon him. He was a pillar of Meccan society. So for him to say, "Akhrajani qawmi," that my people have kicked me out, is like not just him speaking factually. That's very emotional for him. I want you to imagine like loving a place, loving a society, loving a community, and then showing up one day and then the people tell you that they don't want you anymore. That's how he feels. أخرجني قومي. My people have kicked me out. He says, فأنا أريد أن أصيح في الأرض فأعبد ربي. I'm going to go as wherever I can in the earth just so I can worship Allah, subhanallah. The dedication. He's like, I don't care where I have to go. Even if Mecca is home, I'm going to go live wherever I can just so I can worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فقال ابن دغينة. Ibn Daghina responds, he's shocked. He's shocked because he had been out. He hadn't seen, he hadn't felt the this deterioration of Abu Bakr's, residence in Mecca. He didn't feel it. He's seeing it all now. قال ابن دغينة. He says, Inna mithlaka. This is what I want everyone to hear. This is what I want everyone to listen to. Inna mithlaka la yakhruju wa la yukhraj. He says, you're the kind of person that people like you should never, people should never let you leave. Like no one should never let you leave. If somebody sees that you're leaving, they should grab you and say no, and you should never be made to leave. La yakhruj wa la yukhraj. That you should never leave. No one should ever allow that. And you should never be made to feel like you ever have to leave. Okay? Why? فَإِنَّكَ تَكْسِبُ الْمَعْدُومِ وَتَصِلُ الرَّحِمِ وَتَحْمِلُ الْكَالِ وَتَقْرِئُ الضَّيْفِ وَتُعِينُ عَلَى نَوَائِبِ الْحَقِّ. He says, because you are somebody that always takes care of everybody. You help those people in need. You support the just cause. If anyone needs help, they know that they can come to you. وَتَكْسِبُ الْمَعْدُومِ is very powerful. And by the way, if this sounds familiar, there's a reason why. Because this is exactly what Khadija radiallahu anha described the Prophet ﷺ with when he came down from Ghar Hira. Notice how close these friends are. Literally, two random people, Khadija and Ibn Daghina, are defining best friends in the same description. That Khadija radiallahu anha is describing the Prophet ﷺ like this. This is what she told him. And this is what Ibn Daghina is saying to Abu Bakr. How close to the Sunnah is Abu Bakr Siddiq? Identical. And so Ibn Daghina is like, no, if you do not exist in our society, we are losers. We've lost. Because you are the best of us. And you are somebody that takes care of everybody. How did he define him? He didn't say you're the most wealthy. He didn't say you're the most famous, successful. He didn't say anything about that. He said, you are somebody that our society depends on. We need you in Mecca because you take care of everybody. You're there for everybody. And he says afterwards, وَأَنَا لَكَ جَارٌ. He says that I'm going to be your neighbor and your protection here. Like I'm here for you. Okay? فَارْجِعْ فَأْعْبُدْ رَبَّكَ بِبِلَادِكَ. Go ahead and return and worship your Lord in your land. You don't have to go anywhere. I'm with you. Then he goes and he takes Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and he goes and he announces in Mecca proudly, this is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and he's with me. And if anyone wants to talk to him, they have to come through me first. Why am I telling this story regarding this moment today? Because the work that Ibn Daghina saw in Abu Bakr is the work that CAIR-Florida is doing. The work, the defense of human rights, the defense of people taking care. وَتَكْسِبِ الْمَعْدُومِ. You take care of those people that everyone else, they're invisible to them. Everyone else, when you're waiting when you're waiting and you're being interrogated and you're being harassed by authorities and you have these issues, or you're, HR, your company is targeting you, you feel invisible. You feel alone. You feel like no one cares and nobody knows. So to be walking to us, and I'm speaking from personal experience, to be walking and taken away from my son. And one time I even brought my son in with me because I thought maybe I can maybe these people aren't Voldemort. Like maybe I can convince them and show them that I have a child. And my son starts to cry because he's scared. And I call Hassan. Wallahi, this is true. I'm calling him. And on the walk, it's maybe 20 seconds. I've done this a lot, right? By the way, it's happened to me a lot. On the walk between that, the initial screening, the person that screens you into the secondary room, it's 20 seconds. And I call Hassan and he picked up on the first ring. As I'm texting him, he says, call me if anything happens. He picks up on the first ring and he walks me through the entire process in 20 seconds. This is what you have to do. Don't do this. Make sure you do this. Make sure you don't do that. Make sure you don't do this. And subhanAllah, man, I went from feeling alone to feeling like, man, he's got my back. He's got my back. And that's what it is. And I know that maybe not everybody in the world can call Hassan on his phone, and maybe he might not pick up on the first ring. I just, right time, right place. I was texting him, but the team will make sure that you are taken care of. And this is the legacy that we try to carry on. This is the legacy that CAIR-Florida, we need to get this framed in the office. This is the legacy of what we're trying to do here. So if you know, and if you want to support the legacy of the Prophet ﷺ and the legacy of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, then you want to make sure that Islam and Muslims are known not just for our delicious food and our horrible parking situations, and you want to make sure that Muslims are known for justice and for defending people, and that anyone who feels like there's no one there for them, they know that Muslims are there for them, then this is something that you want to support, inshallah. We ask Allah Ta'ala to give us tawfiq, inshallah. I pray a lot for CAIR-Florida, and I still have to go through my travel dates, all my harassments that I've been through, and send them to the team. I will do that as soon as Ramadan is over. I'm going to go through that quarantine lifestyle, inshallah. And I know that, mashallah, they're always going to be there to help me. So I sincerely ask everyone to help them, inshallah, today. Barakallahu feekum, everybody. Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
MashaAllah, mashallah, jazakallah khairan. Sister Yasmin, I know you are the MC, but I'm going to interject and just want to thank you for the beautiful, beautiful example. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us worthy of it. And alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, we're just blessed to be inspired by people like yourself that are really doing the work of deen, sharing the beauty of our faith to future generations, and welcoming all people regardless of their backgrounds to be lovers of Allah and His Messenger. And it's just a tremendous honor for us that Allah's allowed us to play a small role in at least making you feel, like you said, that we have your back. And really, that's why I do the work of CAIR-Florida. It's just an honor that the CAIR-Florida team, all 25 of us, the 5 offices we have, when people are facing injustice and discrimination, that they know that they don't have to fear. Because we've all been there. That's what inspired my work. You mentioned your story at the border. Man, I was going through this. I was 18, 19 years old, you know, and at that time, I really didn't know what to do. And I never wanted anybody in our community to go through that again. So alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair for your kind words, Sheikh AbdelRahman, and your time with us today. And we really appreciate all of your support. Sister Rani had just put online how you can support CAIR-Florida. This work of supporting our scholars, of supporting our faith, of protecting our community, the credit after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it goes to the generous donors that make our work possible. And then it goes to the amazing team of staff that you see with us today. We can't do this work without your generous support. Right now, for those that are watching this on Facebook, may Allah bless you guys. I already see, mashallah, over $100 in donations just came in the past few minutes. Go ahead and click the donate button, support this work. Number 2, well, let me start in order priority. Number 1, make dua. That's the first and most important thing. Make dua that Allah gives us sincerity and accepts our efforts and keeps us steadfast and keeps us on the straight path and gives us victory and success. Keep us in your duas in these blessed days of Ramadan. Number 2, click the donate button and donate whatever amount you can. There is nothing that is too big or too little. Anything given sincerely, that, Ya Allah, in this Ramadan 2020, when the economy was uncertain, I feared for my job, I feared for my future, but I trusted you, Ya Allah, and I gave you what I could. Whatever you can do, it will go a long way. Click the donate button. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from you all. Click the donate button, or you can go to the website that is on the screen right now. Support, which is launchgood.com/defend and protect one, or you can text 26989. Go ahead and text that number 26989. You can text CAIR-FL, or you can even call the number on your screen to make your donation. Do whatever you can. Help us reach our goals. You know, together we can have a powerful impact. I sort of just interjected and stole my sister Yasmin's spot, so I'm going to exit myself and welcome her back. But I also want to admit, Masha, we got like 60 of you watching us live. Please go ahead and click the share button so we can at least double that number, inshallah. Click share, text your friends, tell them to join us. The truth of the matter is, you know, CAIR-Florida, every year since I joined, we run out of money just before Ramadan starts. And the money we get in Ramadan keeps us going to the end of the year. Now you could say, Hassan, that's bad leadership. Why are you running out of money every Ramadan? It's because I don't believe in saving up money in the sense that we just hold back. No, we invest within our community. So every dollar we get, alhamdulillah, we give it back to the community 100-fold in media publicity. Last year, we generated over $120 million worth of positive media coverage for the Muslim community. Our budget is $1 million. We generate $120 million positive publicity, millions of dollars in great legal work for the community. So we've been growing every single year so we can serve the community. MashaAllah, since we've started, we've had $2,500 in donations on Launch Good. May Allah bless you. That's powerful. That's amazing. That's exciting. So keep up the momentum. We run out of money in Ramadan, and what happens is the money we raise in Ramadan keeps us going to the end of the year. How do we raise the money in Ramadan? We have 40 fundraisers at the masajid, but this year they're all canceled. So the only fundraiser we have is this one, and you're a part of it. So make dua for us. Make whatever donation you can so we can keep representing you and defending our faith. And that's a great ajr in the sight of Allah, that, Ya Allah, you've accepted our wealth in defense of our brothers and sisters who are targeted for practicing their religion. You've accepted our wealth to show the beauty of Islam to others. We just released a video today, and maybe you guys can check it on our Facebook page later, of elected officials praising CAIR-Florida's work in representing our faith in our community. That's made possible thanks to your support. And finally, the last point that I will emphasize, make the dua, make the donation, and click share. Invite others to participate. And with that, again, I'm excited to have Sister Yasmin with us. I'll pass you the floor back.
Thank you, Hassan. As another white dude with a beard, I'm so embarrassed that I called Ustad AbdelRahman Murphy a convert. I thought he was a convert because I'm racist, obviously. Terrible. I'm the worst. Every single time I see like a white guy with a beard waiting for his single pour coffee, it's like, is he a hipster or is he Muslim? I don't know which one it is. And so when I see the Muslims, then I think they must have converted, because he just looks so Caucasian. God bless him. And you, God bless you. I'm really excited to introduce this next sort of piece of our program to discuss why is it that CAIR-Florida is running out of money? Well, they're running out of money because they're putting every cent to very good use. They've given over 5,000 law enforcement officials training, pro bono training. They have 8 attorneys on staff that have given over $2 million worth of free legal services to people. So they really do, in echoing what Ustad AbdelRahman Murphy is saying about Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, is that they really look for the most vulnerable people in our society, and they never say no to someone who needs help. They don't refuse to serve. And so right now we're going to be hearing from Hiba Rahim, who's the North Florida Engagement Outreach Coordinator, to discuss a little bit about school discrimination and school bullying that CAIR-Florida has been kind of on the front lines to protect against. And there will be a speaker, Dr. Ahmed Rashidi, who will talk about his own son's experience in combating school harassment and discrimination. So without further ado, I want to introduce Hiba to talk a little bit about what CAIR-Florida has done in that initiative.
And I hate to be a jerk and jump in real quick, but
go ahead, Hassan.
Of course, that
you're acting very white. Go ahead.
I haven't changed much of my Instagram days, have I? We already have raised on Facebook alone $2,500 right now. People have clicked the donate button. We've already done. And honestly, if we can reach 40,000, that's actually our deficit this year right now.
Okay, yeah. You said 40 grand because you have you've got a loan.
Yes, the government is giving loans to businesses, including CAIR-Florida. We are a nonprofit, but we count, and they gave us $180,000. So if you take the 80 we got, alhamdulillah, and the 280 we've already raised, bifadlillah, we are just $40,000 short of our $500,000 goal. And I know you guys can help us reach it, mashallah. We've got 75 people watching live. If you each can commit $500, even if you can't do it yourself, call your friends, call 5 friends, do $100 each. We can accept that donation and we'll get to our goal. Click the share button. And again, even if you can't click the donate button and click online, I know one of the dear brothers, may Allah bless you, he just texted me, he was having trouble donating through Facebook. You can call the number. If you put that number back on the screen real quick, you can call that number on the screen. You can go to the Launch Good website. You can text that number at CAIR-Florida. If we can please put that screen back, inshallah, and you can make that donation. So alhamdulillah, already we're at $2,600. May Allah bless you all. Thank you for your support. And with that, I will pass the floor back, inshallah.
Awesome. So we're excited to hear from Hiba, and it's a modest amount. $40,000 is not actually very much, and I think we can make it. But even if you can make a small investment, even if it's $10, $50, and kind of like Hassan said, split it up amongst your friends, you will see the blessing that comes back from that is incredible, because you're helping protect people, and especially like students, for example, who have been dealing with school bullying.
And you know the amazing thing, by the way, with the Facebook donations, they don't even charge the credit card processing fees. So if a person uses their credit card to donate $1,000, we will get the full 1,000 in our bank account.
Oh, that's so great, Hassan. That's wonderful. Okay, Hib, are you ready?
Yes, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalam ala Rasulullah. It's my pleasure to be here with you guys today and to participate in this effort for CAIR-Florida and share with you guys some of what we've been doing specifically with regards to the school system and working within the school system. Brothers and sisters, subhanAllah, if there's any way I could emphasize how important this outreach aspect is that CAIR-Florida does in terms of protection and prevention, there's really no words that I could put to it. Our children pull the strings of our heart. We live for them. Everything we do is for them. We protect them. It's our job, and it's our, subhanAllah, Allah puts that feeling in our heart where our mission is to work to make sure that they are safe at all times. And that's part of our CAIR-Florida mission as well. We recognize the importance of our youth and just the importance of making sure that they're safe. And the biggest gift that we've given to our children is Islam. The biggest gift that we give them is the confidence to be a Muslim in America with the religious freedoms and rights that we have and that this country gives us. And so what pains us the most is to see our kids not being able to live that Islam fully or proudly because of certain issues or aspects that they may face at school. The majority of our kids' time is at school, in the classrooms. And that's why CAIR-Florida has spent so much time reaching out to the school systems and offering trainings to educators, not just to teachers. I mean, it's on so many different levels. We go into the classrooms and we talk to the students. We give presentations about Islam. But more than that, we also do specific trainings for educators, using ourselves as live resources on the Muslim faith. We do training also for assistant principals of curriculum. These are the people who develop the curriculum for the teachers.
Sorry, if you want to switch to speaker mode, inshallah.
Yes, thank you. These are the people who, really develop the curriculums for the teachers, and we're in direct contact with them. And where this all started, I want to bring in my guest here also is, subhanAllah, when we got a call last year from a parent in Tallahassee in Leon County Schools, and we have Dr. Ahmed Rashidi with us to share with us some of that experience. What happened basically is I'll leave it to Dr. Rashidi to share, and then we'll continue the conversation. Dr. Rashidi, if you would just share with us a little bit about the instance that your son faced at school.
Assalamu alaikum, bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa salatu wa salam ala ashraf al-mursaleen. So, subhanallah, before this particular incident, the year before, in 2018, my wife was volunteering, so I went to visit her in the school, and I saw disgusting presentation being given to our kids in school, in that particular school that you talked about. And I took it upon myself. I walked to the principal and I talked to him, and I said, I talked to him about, how deceiving that presentation is. And it's basically, it has a lot of misconception about Muslims. So he calmed me down and promised me that he will take care of it, and that he will call me back. And to be quite honest, I forgot all about it until again, my wife, while she was volunteering in the school, we realized that even more Islamophobic, to say the least, presentation will be, that was on September 10th. So on September 11th, that presentation would be given to 2 grades, and that's hundreds of students. So I talked to the school on the phone, and I talked to the county, and I asked them to pull it down, and they said, we'll give you a call back. So I let them know that if I don't hear back from them within 45 minutes, I will escalate. And then at this point, I texted Sister Hiba, and I always do, and I explained to her the situation. Seconds later, I got a response back, and subhanallah, the assembled team, Sister Hiba and Attorney Levenger, and they start talking to the county. They got on the phone with the school, and they got the media involved. And subhanallah, within an hour and a half, I heard back from the school that presentation will be pulled down, and it will not be taught to our kids. The fact of the matter is that school, when I approached him as an individual, as a concerned parent, to talk to him about something that absolutely Islamophobic and should be inappropriate, has no scholarly written references. I don't know where they got it from. They did nothing. They did zero effort to stop this. But subhanallah, when we got CAIR involved, that made all the difference. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And they were able to talk to the school, talk to the county. And not only that, Sister Hiba, alhamdulillah, kept on talking to the county, persisting, although they were not, in the beginning, they were not going to meet with her. But she took it upon herself, stopped by to the office, talked to the authority there in that office, and alhamdulillah, she was able to train so many academics or faculties from Leon County about Islam and how to deal with Muslims, how to deal with Muslim students, and so forth and so on. And I have to tell you, my son today prays in school, and not only that, he actually pulls other Muslim students in his class, outside of his class, during a particular time, and they pray together. And that's, for me, is a great achievement. So subhanallah, I cannot thank CAIR-Florida enough. The dedication, the heartfelt messages that I've received from them, they're just phenomenal. And that's all I have. And jazakallah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Brother Ahmed. Really, again, this is Dr. Ahmed Rashidi. When he reached out to us at CAIR-Florida, it was like immediate. Like he said, it was immediate. Within 45 minutes, we had 3 of our staff members calling the superintendent, the communications director, and the county's school attorney, making sure that this Islamophobic, extremely Islamophobic presentation. I can't emphasize, brothers and sisters, I have been working with CAIR-Florida for 5 years and monitoring Islamophobic activity before that. I have never seen a presentation at this caliber of just hate words and hate messages. We talk about implicit biases. We talk about that in our training with teachers. We talk about direct, how teachers can reinforce certain ideas. This was very direct, brash, Islamophobic content being given to middle schoolers. And that's why we have these cases of school bullying, because of course you have educators who are spreading misinformation about Islam, blatant lies about Islam. And then you have young individuals, middle, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students who are listening to these lies, accepting, absorbing them, and then turning that around into expressions of hate toward Muslim students. And then we have a spike, of course, in reports. Did you know, I want to share a few statistics with you guys. 1 in 4 Muslim bullying incidents involve teachers. 1 in 4, 25% of Muslim bullying incidents involve teachers. 35% of students indicate that harassment doesn't stop when they address it with administrators. That's a huge percentage of individuals who approach their teachers and still say nothing stops. And that's why organizations like CAIR-Florida, that's why it is imperative that you support our work, inshallah, for the protection of your children. That's why our telethon is protect your family and invest in your community, so that we can push that effort to protect our children and to make sure that we can raise a generation of confident Muslims All right, this is incredibly important. I can't overemphasize that. Being a Muslim is one thing, but being able to lift your head up high, being able to hold your shoulders back and lift your head up high with La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah is what we try to make sure every single student in Florida and inshallah in the United States is able to do proudly without discrimination. Alhamdulillah. I wanted to ask you, Dr. Rashidi, really quickly, you mentioned your son, but if you would just share like really quickly in that moment, what that made you feel as a parent when you saw like your son, the reaction that you had gotten from him.
Oh, subhanallah, I mean, it's a moment of confusion because we send our kids to school to learn, and we don't expect them to be put in harm's way by students, let alone teachers and principals and academics. So I was livid, to be quite honest, and I was livid because my previous message did not reach the level I wanted to reach. I mean, I spoke to the principal before about that particular presentation that was given in a different event, and they were not only attacking Muslims, they were attacking Filipinos and Japanese Americans. There was a whole host of things, but that particular presentation that I saw on September 10th was attacking Muslims in the worst possible manners, and none of it was factual. I mean, I would be happy to talk to them if any of the things they are presenting is factual. It was all lies, and so certainly made myself and my wife very angry about the process and about education in general. But alhamdulillah, when we reached to CAIR-Florida, alhamdulillah, every single individual that we talked to made us self-assured that this will be handled. Alhamdulillah, it was handled very well.
And you know, the most important thing, Dr. Rashidi, is thank you for reaching out to us. And that's, I think, where a lot of people fall short, is that they don't reach out to the organization that is able to help them. They don't reach out to the organization that is professional and specializes in this. And so my final appeal will be to parents to please ask your children how they're doing. Ask them what they're hearing in class. Ask them what's going on. And you wouldn't believe how many experience discrimination and don't share it with the student, with their parents, because that's the nature of that age. So make sure you have that open communication with your kids. Talk to them about what they're going through in school. Ask them specific questions. Does anybody say anything that makes you uncomfortable about being a Muslim? Does anybody say anything that makes you uncomfortable about Islam? Do you hear anything that makes you less than proud to represent your faith in your school? And if the answer to that is yes, you may certainly deal with it, but be sure that CAIR-Florida will be there to help support you deal with those situations. Pay attention to the numbers on our screen and please donate today so that we can continue our work to defend Islam and Muslims and to defend you and your family if you ever need it. May Allah protect you all. I'll turn it back to Daniel. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Amin. Thank you so much for Hiba and Dr. Rashidi. Dr. Rashidi is one of our great community members in North Florida who really takes it upon himself to plug us in where we're needed. One of the things that we say at CAIR-Florida is that we're a pretty modest staff of 20, 25 folks, and we can't cover the full state. And a lot of what we rely on is not just the community's financial support, which we definitely need to be able to do this work, but we also need you guys to plug us in. You know what I mean? If you're experiencing discrimination, if your child is being bullied, if you need any type of support, we're here to provide that support for you. So please, take down our numbers and make sure that you guys reach out as needed. And just before we actually go to our next segment, I want to just share actually a brief video of a teacher who went through a training with Hiba in North Florida. So this is a non-Muslim teacher who had CAIR-Florida come in, not for this particular instance, but just had CAIR-Florida come in and do a diversity training for her students. And this is what she has to say. Bismillah.
while it's pulling up, I think I'll go ahead and speak until you have it playing.
Oh, sorry, it's playing. I thought that I thought that you guys could see. My apologies. Let me go ahead and reshare the screen. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, Bismillah. Now you guys can see her, yeah? Okay, and let me know if you can't hear.
I don't think we can hear her.
No audio.
Okay. So this is, a teacher that Hiba had actually provided a training to, and basically what her video shows is just that how moved she was. She said that CAIR-Florida basically provided an opportunity that she otherwise would not have had, and that it created a lot of great conversation between her and her students. You know what I mean, to have discussions that they wouldn't normally have, and it really broadened their horizons about Islam in general, and in a way that they didn't have access to if it wasn't for CAIR-Florida. So there's a non-Muslim sharing how important the work of CAIR-Florida is. So inshallah, our community as well can continue to support us so that we can provide these services throughout the states. I'm gonna turn it, actually, I'll just introduce the next segment, which is our protect work, the work we do to protect Muslims and non-Muslims in the state of Florida. And in this next segment, you're gonna hear from our executive director again, Hassan Shibly, a lot about the work that we do for prisoners' rights and incarcerated people's rights, especially our Muslim brothers and sisters behind bars. And we actually have two very special guests that will be able to speak from their own personal experiences about when we say, we're protecting the rights of all, and when we're defending justice, it really truly means for everyone, and no matter where that injustice may be taking place. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brother Hassan, inshallah.
Here, I can't forget when I was giving Jum'ah in Jacksonville, and one of the programs CAIR-Florida does is we rely on giving Jum'ah khutbahs that we can reach the community to educate them, to take about their rights and to inspire them to take action to fight Islamophobia and to have a positive impact. And remember, a woman came up to me in tears after the Jummah khutbah, crying over the situation of her son who was locked up in jail, and they were forcing him to shave his beard, and they were not giving him halal food. And I was very, very hurt to see his mother in that state. Immediately, I called the team. I said, we have to act on this immediately. Alhamdulillah, was able to, and that's the advantage of having a team of lawyers on the forefront of defending the Muslim community rights. I was able to go to the jail and meet with the Muslim inmate. And yeah, he was very, very sad about his situation. Of course, they were forcing his beard off. They were harassing him because he was Muslim. And right away, man, we didn't waste any time. I went immediately to talk with the leadership of the jail. And at that time, it was Sunday, so they weren't available. So I said, all right, I understand it's Sunday, but you're violating the rights of this Muslim inmate, and we're going to take action if you don't, fix the situation. I went outside and I went on Facebook Live, and this is why it's so important right now that each and every person watching this video clicks the donate button and donates, even if it's $10. If it can be more, $100, $1,000, even better. But even if it's just $10, $5, do it, because when Allah says do, and surely the believers are seeing what you do, it's not just our friends that are watching what we do, but even those that are engaging in injustice and oppression, they're seeing the strength of the Muslim community. And I remember when I went on Facebook Live outside of that jail, and I threatened to sue that jail because they were forcefully shaving off the beards of Muslim inmates. Alhamdulillah, just within an hour, we had raised about $5,000 online. And the jail saw my video, and they saw how the Muslim community within just an hour raised $5,000 for us to sue them if they continue to shave the beards of Muslim inmates. And alhamdulillah, the next day, the leadership of the jail asked to meet with me. We met with them, and they changed their policies. They stopped their policy of forcefully shaving off the beards of Muslim inmates. They had a policy of removing the hijab of Muslim women. They stopped that policy as well. They're changing their policy as it relates to food. So alhamdulillah, we were able to be very victorious. And Hiba's done a lot of work in this field. We have a full-time staff member whose job is to monitor the situations of jails and make sure the inmates of them are not having their rights violated. And that's very important, because these are people who often cannot stand up for themselves, cannot protect their own rights. Historically, jails is a time where a lot of people do find Islam, they find their faith, and they start growing in their faith, and they need our support. Allah will ask us. So I remember Hiba calling me earlier saying that we might have an issue where they may not be allowing the Muslim inmates to fast. And alhamdulillah, Hiba was able to jump on that. And alhamdulillah, you look at Florida has about 200 prisons with about 200,000 prisoners in jail. And alhamdulillah, CAIR-Florida has really been at the forefront of standing up and monitoring them and making sure that the Muslim community is protecting the rights of all people. Alhamdulillah, I just got the good news that we got a $1,000 check being mailed by an Orlando donor who's watching this interview. And Sister Hiba is mentioning Ann Williams. So is Ann with us right now? I don't know what that reference is.
She is, yeah. So we have two special guests, alhamdulillah, joining us for this segment, folks who are actually, personally impacted by prisoners' rights work. So actually, Hiba, if you wouldn't mind introducing our first guest, Ann Williams, and Brother Sharif, and kind of going through them a little bit about what their experience has been, inshallah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would love to welcome who has now become a very, very dear friend, Miss Ann Williams. She is the mother of one of the Muslim brothers who we work with, who I've met personally many times. I've often said about this young man that, mashallah, because of how much he reads in prison, that I pray that he'll emerge one of the scholars, like the AbdelRahman Murphy, Ustad AbdelRahman Murphy. I'll give you a background. One of the things that really shocked me about Brother Warren and many others who I've met like him is the first time I met him, he asked me for a few books. So I had some like Islam 101 type of books. And he said, actually, I was reading Ihya Ulumuddin, Revival of Islamic Sciences by Imam al-Ghazali. So if you have anything in that area that I can develop my reading, further my education with. So subhanAllah, he just reads through things. And his mother, Ann, is an amazing advocate. I mean, just somebody who has really kept me in the loop of everything that's going on. She's an advocate for prisoners' rights in general, certainly is a great liaison between letting us know how the Muslim community is doing. And so, Ann Williams, I'd love to bring you on screen and have you just share a few words about your experience with CAIR-Florida in Muslim inmates advocacy.
Well, thank you. From my heart to your heart, Hiba, we have developed a wonderful friendship. And every time I get together with all of you, I have such a great appreciation for Islam and the brotherhood and the sisterhood and just the wonderful things that you bring to all men. And as far as my son in prison, I mean, we all make mistakes and people end up in prison for many, many different reasons. I'm very involved with a group called Florida CARES, C-A-R-E-S, and they have a Facebook group and you have to have a loved one. But oftentimes, because I have been outspoken about my son being a Muslim in prison, many families don't know who to reach out to, so they will reach out to me and then I'm able to pass them on to Hiba. And for these young men to feel, first of all, to have the leadership of older Muslims who have so much guidance to give these young men and women in prison, it's a wonderful thing. But then for them to feel that there's someone that stands up for them, that has their back, that wants to take care of them and is willing to go the extra mile for them, because there is, they do feel put upon in prison and they don't receive the same things as different denominations and they know it. They don't get to meet as often. And certainly good tidings to all of you this Ramadan. And they, like all of you, have had to experience Ramadan in a different way for the first time. And I think it's been very difficult, but I think it's allowed a lot of introspection and brought prayer and a relationship to Allah and to our God in a way that they have not experienced before. But Hiba was really good. My son asked if they could please have dates this year. I think the prison where he was before, they had dates. And this is one of those things that people contribute to CAIR that they don't even realize. CAIR goes out and purchases these dates and delivers them to all of the prisons. And when they break that fast at night, that date represents so much more than just the love and support, just the nourishment, but it offers that love and support, and that someone outside cares about me and that Allah cares about me, that I am not forgotten. So it's really important for all of you to continue to contribute, to continue your prayers, and to continue to embrace all of us. So I'm very grateful for CAIR.
Thank you, CAIR. And you're right. Thank you, Ann, and thank you, CAIR. We haven't forgotten, and our incarcerated Muslim brothers and sisters are in our hearts and in our prayers. And just because they are behind prison walls, it certainly does not mean that their rights should be trampled upon. And it is important for them to know that we are here to defend them, not to judge for any. We know about our criminal injustice system. We know about the school to prison pipeline. We know about so many unfortunate circumstances that land people justly or unjustly. You know, ultimately the sentencing and the disproportionate everything, fill in the blank, just creates for such a horrible situation for so many people. And, you know, it's not our place, nor any place of any man, person, woman, anybody to judge, but really just to stand there in solidarity and make sure that their rights are being met. And on a very basic level, you mentioned the dates. Alhamdulillah, we were able to deliver dates to over 40 institutions. And that may seem like, well, I think it seems like a big feat, but I think what's more important for people to realize is the steps that it took to get there, because food donations were not allowed into Florida Department of Corrections. And it took meetings with the topmost level officials in the Florida DOC, telling them that dates are a sacramental food, just like other faiths have their sacramental food that are allowed to be donated. You cannot draw the line at the Muslim community and dates. And so being able to explain to them that here is why Islam, this is where the prophetic tradition is with dates, and showing them that, and that was just the first step. Like, we really thought that getting that approval would make it a piece of cake just to send those dates into the institutions, but it didn't. We were faced with opposition from people who may not have gotten the memo or may not have wanted to deal with it. And of course, we were also received very, very positively by some chaplains and by some institutions. So I definitely want to say that the relationship that we're building has been really transformative for so many people. For the first time ever, I've had Muslim incarcerated individuals write me messages saying that the warden is checking on us and making sure that we're comfortable and that we have all of our needs met. Imagine that, going from like complaint to complaint to complaint to saying, hey, we've got top level administrators asking us if we're okay and if we feel properly accommodated. SubhanAllah, really, really Allahu Akbar, like the ability of a movement to transform some things that are happening on the inside is phenomenal. It's incredible. And I can't emphasize that none of this would be possible without the support of our donors, who put people in place who are able to move into action when necessary. I mean, it's just been great. And I'm so blessed to be a part of this. And I'm also blessed, I mean, Anne, I know our relationship has really developed, and I consider you a friend and a sister, but also a fellow activist and advocate, because of the many relationships that you have. You really plug me into a lot of the places where I need to be. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Let me see if Brother Sharif, are you on the line with us?
Yes, I am.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Sharif. Welcome to Telethon, and thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Brother Sharif, I'm going to give you a minute to introduce yourself, if you don't mind, the way you'd like.
Okay, my name is Brother Sharif, and I actually did about 8 years in the Department of Correction, reverting back to Islam while inside. I've been out of the Department of Correction. November will make 15 years. And while I was in there, I was able to obtain a trade in the water and wastewater field. And, you know, by Allah's grace and mercy, you know, now I am the superintendent over the water treatment department for the city of St. Cloud. Without organizations like CAIR, none of this would have ever been possible. You know, advocating for just the basic things that we, you know, as Muslim, the basic things that the Muslims need in order to be successful while incarcerated and upon exiting. During my time, we didn't have an organization of such that was advocating for us. So pretty much we had to rely on whatever sponsorship that we had coming in, whatever Muslim brothers or sisters that came in.
Let me ask you this question, Brother Sharif. can you share with us an instance from your time incarcerated that perhaps an organization like CAIR-Florida would have been very useful in helping the Muslim brothers?
Well, I can speak on numerous Ramadans that I participated in while being incarcerated. One in particular, that I was at an institution, Charlotte Correctional, and I was the imam, so to speak, over the community there, and we didn't have any sponsorship. And the basic things that we needed for us, you know, our meals before and after the fast, I mean, they pretty much just gave us whatever they wanted to give us. It was not any form of nourishment, no form of, well, let's make sure that they have the proper nourishment and stuff. And then when it came to our id, it was just like, okay, you get an hour and we're just going to give you some cold lunch trays and that's your id. But, you know, at other institutions where we had someone that actually came in and had an organization that was like lobbying for us, we were able to have a very successful Ramadan with very little issues. And also our ids were beautiful. We were able to have food from the outside and fellowship with other people.
Alhamdulillah. What about now? I mean, Brother Sharif, I just want to mention to all of our guests who are watching that we do have a Muslim inmates advocacy group that extends and embraces many organizations, other individuals who work in their personal capacities, but also groups who work for Muslim inmates advocacy. And so Brother Sharif is part of that group, and I know on that group you certainly see some of the activity that CAIR-Florida is doing. So as someone who may have been in a certain position in the past, how do you feel that makes our Muslim incarcerated brothers and sisters feel? How important is it to have a group on the outside advocating for their rights?
It's very important, because if you didn't have these groups, then I mean, just as you spoke of, Miss Williams spoke of some of the basic things that are being allowed to other religious organizations, we wouldn't be able to have those things. You know what I'm saying? I mean, very simple things like books, prayer rugs, just, you know, the time and the place to actually conduct Jumu'ah. I mean, at some institutions, Jumu'ah was not allowed because we didn't have an outside sponsor, and they felt as though that a Muslim that was incarcerated could not, that was a security threat to have them leading something such as Jumu'ah prayer or leading a community and such.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
We're an organization from the outside enlightening them and speaking on behalf of the incarcerated Muslims. A lot more stuff is able to get done, because they look at the incarcerated Muslim as basically trying to get over in a you know, putting it in that kind of context, that they're trying to get over, or they're trying to get something that, you know, they're, you know, just a little bit more than what anybody else is getting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's really been a lot of what I've experienced in terms of reaching out to these institutions. You have some places who won't allow Jumu'ah regularly, who cancel Jumu'ah regularly, who don't allow equal opportunity for ta'lim and other things. Again, you know, Florida has almost 200 prisons and jails, and we've been in touch with every single one of them through letter, and many of them in person. We visited in person, met with their wardens, establishing communication networks and support groups to go into these institutions. So alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, like, it really has been an amazing experience. The support that we're receiving back from DOC is something that I definitely want to commend as well. We certainly are getting a good reception, but, you know, as we say, we're not looking to be liked, we're looking to be respected, and that's something that we have to make sure that people know there's a reason that we're here, and it is to be vigilant and to defend and to protect and to prevent, and that those are all part of the things that we're doing, and to empower not just our community, but even our incarcerated community to know their rights and to reach out to us when they need us, and we will be there for them bi'idhnillah ta'ala. So please continue your support. I want to send a special thanks from our incarcerated Muslim brothers and sisters who I meet personally, who regularly ask about the Ummah and regularly send their salam to each and every one of you and their gratitude and thanks. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Thank you, Brother Sharif Fulger. Thank you, Miss Ann Williams. And I'll turn it back to Sister Yasmin. Assalamu alaikum.
And real quick, by the way, before Sister Yasmin jumps in, just to share with you some good news.
Yeah, I love good news, Hassan. Do it.
Alhamdulillah, we are at 25% of our goal, I believe. Alhamdulillah, $11,000 raised on this call so far between Facebook and the online links. And alhamdulillah, I'm just so excited because there's so many people that call the CAIR-Florida team consistently that need our support. And I never like to turn anybody away. And thanks to your support, we can have a very strong reputation that when people need our help, we're here to protect them. So alhamdulillah, you see, we just reached our first milestone, 25% of the funds raised. Do what you can. The money goes a long way. And that's what I love about CAIR-Florida. Literally last year, I was shocked. I didn't actually believe it initially. I had to call Wilfredo and double check with him. But $120 million worth of positive publicity we generated for the Muslim community last year. And just look at where your donations can go. $10, if you can just click the donate button on Facebook right now, or go to LaunchGood and donate $10. That sponsors materials for one diversity and tolerance training participant. Last year, we trained 5,000 police officers. Yeah. When I moved to CAIR-Florida, moved to CAIR-Florida, that's probably what I did. When I moved to Florida to work for CAIR in 2011, we audited what kind of training Muslims, the police were receiving about Muslims, and we found they were receiving anti-Muslim training. They were really being trained. They have to harass and drive Muslims out of the community. We discovered that these trainings happen at over 20 sheriff's departments across the state. Not only did we expose the anti-Muslim training, put a stop to it, but now last year we trained over 5,000 officers on respecting the rights of the Muslim community. So $10 can sponsor the trainings of one of those officers, inshallah. $30 can support our voter registration drive. You know, the Muslim community's vote can swing the election in Florida. That's why it's very important. We're all registered to vote and we vote. Whoever wins the statewide election will likely win by 20 to 40,000 votes. There's 400,000 of us. We can swing the election. We can make the difference in who wins the statewide elections, who becomes the next president. So it's important we engage in the process. $75 will cover one of the consults that we do free of charge. You know, anybody who faces discrimination. I know in my private practice, I was charging $300-400 an hour, and I had to put a stop to it to do the work I do at CAIR-Florida. If you need to hire a lawyer, you know, Yasmin can speak about it. It's not cheap to hire a lawyer and get a consult. We do it free of charge. We get over almost 1,000 calls a year for help. We do them all free of charge. $75 will at least cover our costs, enable us to do it.
Yeah, and you provided over $2 million of free legal service to people. So that's a huge thing. In just 1 year, just in 2019, you offered $2 million worth of free legal consultation. You have 8 attorneys on staff. You cannot do that without people's support. If people can't support that, you know, those initial case filings, you guys, $500 just covers the first initial case filings in a court. So important. If you want to sponsor an immigration case, it's $1,000. So that's why we're asking for these numbers, as you can see here on the screen, because CAIR is actually taking that money and it is putting it directly into the community. It's investing it directly to the most vulnerable people and the people who are calling these, you know, the CAIR hotline, whether it be, we heard from AbdelRahman Murphy, who has TSA issues. So, you know, secondary inspection issues, watch list travel issues. Those are some of the most famous instances of where CAIR-Florida gets involved, whether it be that or these wonderful stories that you heard from Ann Williams and Sharif Fulger about being someone who's incarcerated and feeling forgotten, feeling like someone just threw away the key and forgot about all of these people's rights. Well, CAIR-Florida is here to advocate for those who are forgotten. And that is the most prophetic thing that you can do. The most prophetic thing that you can do this Ramadan, and it's the 25th night, people, is to give just even a little bit that you can give to be able to remember those who are forgotten so that God will remember you. We know that. If you remember God, and in doing good work, you are in the remembrance of God. When you remember God, God will remember you in a better station, in a higher station, in a place that is closer to him. And let's hurry towards that. Let's hurry towards that. I know that this is a time of uncertainty. I know that it's very difficult because we don't know what's going on with the COVID-19 crisis, but just think if you're in prison right now, it's COVID-19. Like, I understand that you feel like you're under house arrest. How about the people who are literally, their physical liberty has been taken through coercive state action? CAIR-Florida is here to make sure that those Muslims feel like someone is with them, someone is in their corner. This is a groundbreaking work and work that you should support. Easy to call if you don't feel comfortable putting in your credit card information. 833-224-7352, extension 212. You can text CAIR-Florida at 26989. So easy. In the Lodge Good campaign, as you saw, we're a little over 25% of the way there to the $40,000 goal. And I know that we can do it together. Whether it be $10 or $500 or $5,000, every single penny that you give today, may it weigh heavy for you on the scales. May it weigh heavy for you on the scales when there will be no shade but God's shade. And may you remember those who are forgotten so that God will remember you. I wanted to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Dalia Fahmy, who is someone I geek out about. She's a role model. She's an assistant professor of political science at Long Island University in Brooklyn. She got both her BA and her master's from NYU, her PhD from Rutgers, as well as a second master's in comparative politics. She's someone that I think is just an incredible voice. She does a lot of research on issues of intellectual and political development of modern Islamist movements. And she's here to talk to us a little bit about Islamophobia and its effect on our communities. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Dalia Fahmy, our next speaker.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for that generous introduction. It's wonderful to see all of you. I'm in awe of the work that you're doing. I'm really humbled to be in your presence, actually. But I'm going to get serious for a second and, talk about our political landscape. Brothers and sisters, when we look at our current political and social landscape, there seems to be a level of darkness and bleakness, especially in the run-up to the election that will occur later this year. And this is where the bulk of my current research lies, is why is it that Islamophobia rises right before an election? And today, in the age of Trump, it seems that the rise of hate groups, the rise of white nationalists, the international white power movement, anti-Black racist, Islamophobe, anti-Semites, the list goes on. And the disturbing truth is that hate has been amplified and normalized and institutionalized. And all you have to do is ask several Muslim leaders who often turn to CAIR-Florida and ask, how can they protect themselves from enduring campaigns of hate and defamation? Or, as was already mentioned, you can ask the average Muslim American elementary school student, where 1 in 4 Muslim children have been victims of bullying. According to the FBI, this year there has been a 17% increase annually. Every single year since 2016, there is a 17% annual increase in acts of anti-Muslim and Islamophobic hate crimes. And it's been consistent. And stating that this is one of the most intensely anti-Muslim time periods in American history, and that 2020 might be the most anti-Muslim year on record. Attacks on mosques, attacks on women have often been the measure of Islamophobia that we use in our studies. But it's beyond today the desecration of mosques and Muslim community spaces, but it's also the physical attack on Muslim identity, Muslim men and women, and Sikh men who wear turbans, who are often come under attack because they look Muslim. Muslim women who wear hijab or a veil tend to be attacked more than men, and they are seen today as the most visible outward symbols of Islam. So you see mosques, turbans, veils, hijab, all being attacked. And the reason why is to dehumanize those individuals and ultimately to ensure the lack of belonging of Islam and Muslims in the United States. When we think about fear of Islam, it's become more and more prominent in everyday political discourse, from the so-called nationwide anti-Islam rallies, the controversy surrounding many mosque zonings, the illegal surveillance of Muslim Student Association, the attempts to pass anti-Sharia legislation, the vitriol coming out of the current political establishment that started really to be vocalized in 2015, where we started to hear things from within the political establishment of whether Muslims could be trusted. And it seemed that anti-Muslim sentiment was on the rise at that moment. And according to Gallup, Today, 48% of Muslim Americans say that they've experienced racial or religious discrimination. That's almost half of all Muslim Americans say that they have experienced racial or religious discrimination. And unfortunately, we've seen the end result of this with the execution-style murders of 3 young Muslims in North Carolina, the burning down of an Islamic school and a mosque, the murder of individuals in Michigan, the violence that happened a few months ago here in New York. And when we think about what all of this reflects, that the mainstreaming of Islamophobia has a visceral effect on the Muslim American community. We saw political campaigns say that the United States is a Judeo-Christian nation, saying that really Islam has no place here. That, for example, a Muslim president couldn't be trusted, or that Muslims in elected office are not trustworthy, and that Muslims can't be included in cabinet positions, and that mosques should be surveilled or closed, and that we should have a Muslim registry, not to mention the Muslim ban. And this, for me, in my research, all came to a reflective point in 2015. Again, it was right before the 2016 presidential election. We started to see the rise of anti-Muslim hate, and it seemed to be in the periphery. And then in 2015, President Obama was giving his State of the Union address, and he says that this is a nation that will not tolerate anti-Semitism. And the entire chamber of Congress stands up and applauds, rightfully so. We are all staunch opponents of anti-Semitism and anti-hate. But in his next breath, when he says, and this is a country that will stand against rising anti-Muslim sentiment, the entire chamber was silent. And yet we started to hear it loud and clear that maybe what used to be in the periphery is coming from within our political establishment today. Maybe some of our elected officials agree. And ultimately, that is Islamophobia. Now, CAIR provides a wonderful definition for Islamophobia because it focuses on the end result. Now, we all tend to think Islamophobia is this irrational or unfounded fear of Islam and Muslims that perpetuates negative stereotypes. But ultimately, the perpetuation of negative stereotypes and discrimination and marginalization leads to the exclusion of Muslims from social, political, and civic life. That Islamophobia has a political objective, and that's the marginalization of Muslims from civic and political life, that we tend to feel that we don't belong. Now, irrationality leads to the propagation of all of these myths. And it's these myths that concern us most because they're not true. And so when you had the father talk about the Islamophobic narrative, these myths, they have an end result. Or sheriff's training, I was already mentioned, they have an end result. And so fighting against that perpetuation of myths is ultimately ensuring that Muslims have a place in social, civic, and political life. Now, these falsehoods have, in effect, affected the perception of Islam and Muslims here in the United States. And yet, we know that this is antithetical to American values. And we also know through several studies released by ISPU and Gallup and Pew in the past few years that essentially Muslims are everywhere. If you look at the frontline workers, for example, in the state of New Jersey where I live, most of our frontline workers and frontline physicians who are and continue to combat COVID are primarily Muslims in several aspects of the state. Muslims are everywhere. Here on the East Coast, 20,000 physicians. Driving taxis, feeding you on the street, heading banks and hospitals, fixing our teeth, paving our roads. Muslims both died on 9/11 and helped erect the first steel beam of the world, of the Freedom Tower. Muslims have been part of the very fabric of this country. And we think about the position of Muslim women in the United States. We know that Muslim women are the second most highly educated religious minority group, and that we are, as a collective, the most economically stable economic religious group here in the United States. And what that means is that not only are women the second most highly educated, they have a gender parity in terms of their earning capacity. And beyond that, Muslim Americans are economically stable, more so than any other religious minority group. And the reason why is we're not allowed to enter into economic practices that are untrustworthy or unjust or hurt others. And so during the 2008 economic crisis, for example, communities that had a large percentage of Muslim concentration were not hit by the economic crisis as much as others were. And we find that this is reflective of a larger trend within the Muslim American community. Now, one of my friends and colleagues at the University of Seattle, Karam Dana, did a study that finds that the more mosque going you are, the more civic minded you become. The more mosque going, the more you're involved in the American Muslim community, the more civic minded you become, the more you actually contribute to the greater American society. And one of my former advisors at Princeton University finds that the more you understand the Quran, not read it, the more you understand the Quran, the more pro-justice you become. Being pro-justice and being civic-minded is not just our civic duty as Americans, but it's our religious obligation. And statistically speaking, that is reflected in the American Muslim community. But according to Gallup today, 86% of Americans see Islam in a negative light. They have a negative association with the word Islam. And this is 1 week worse than it was 1 week after 9/11. It's because these very American values that we all hold dearly have been undermined. We have seen Islamophobia lead to a return of an exclusionary identity, where Muslims are the threat, where they represent difference and change. And the inclusion of Muslims would mean a redefinition of what it means to be America. And so this can't happen. And so we're starting to see this irrationality continuously become mainstream, and it's toxic, and it's inherently against American values, and it always has been. And so how does this all affect our Muslim identity? When our identity is constantly today being defined for us, when Muslims are told you are not us, then we are constantly reacting to these narratives and frames that are already decided for us. And when we're reacting to irrational frames, we're actually not capturing the true essence of who we are. When we're stuck constructing our identities like this and what it means to be Muslim, in essence, we're defining ourselves by an irrational frame. And so we need to recognize that we can't accept those theoretical constructs. And we need to do just as CAIR defines its own definition, to move away from the lack of civic and political participation and counter it with just that, more civic and political participation. And this is where CAIR comes in. The rejection of Islamophobia and these narratives and the insistence on the belonging of Muslim Americans as part of the social fabric of the United States is part and parcel of the mission of CAIR. In a 2017 study at the Yaqeen Institute, we find that 1 in 3 Muslim children doesn't want to tell others that they're Muslim. And 1 in 2 simply don't believe that they can actually be Muslim and American. And what this reflects is that Islamophobic narrative is being internalized by our youth, more so than our generations ever were. We're seeing 2nd and 3rd generation Muslim American youth believe that they don't belong. And so brothers and sisters, when Muslim American youth see that the odds are stacked against them, it ultimately shapes how they identify. Because when you're told you don't belong, you might start to believe it, even though that you know that you belong nowhere else but here. The birth of the Islamophobia industry aims to do this. $50 million a year at the most conservative estimates, up to $250 million a year, to tarnish not just the image of Islam, but the idea that Muslims belong. But again, all is not bleak. This is where the work of CAIR comes in. It's been at the front lines fighting for civil liberties, for representation, and the insistence on belonging. CAIR has been here for all of us. I have a Hassan story, just like the Imam had before, of calling Hassan from the airport and he's saying, "Don't worry, I'm on standby." And he reminds me, him and his team and these fabulous men and women, that in every generation we are told that there are those that will stand for the truth. And Hassan and his team at CAIR-Florida are those who are standing for all of us, even if we're not from Florida. And to young people who are questioning this idea of belonging, Hassan and his team are the ones that are ensuring that we will hold steadfast, not just in reclaiming our identity, but to reclaiming American ideals, protecting the Constitution, and moving forward in the world that is telling us we don't matter. And so when you hear President Trump or Cruz or Miller or Gingrich make statements about Muslims, together we're telling them through the voice of Hassan and his team and their work, you will not define me. I will reclaim this identity. I have a sense of izzah. I have a sense of karama. I am a Muslim. And so when you look at the work of Hassan and his team, we have to know that this is the generation that overcame some of the shackles of the previous generation, because they stand not just for all of us, they stand for everyone who's marginalized. You see Hassan and his team at the forefront with the Black Lives Matter movement, the anti-immigration movement, what's happening on our southern border. People call them that are not just Muslim. When we think about what's happening in this country at the hands of the for-profit prison industrial complex, you see Hassan and his team advocating for people on the inside, giving voice to the voiceless, giving voice to those that we've decided not to listen to. And so when we measure the success of institutions, we tend to look at markers, right? Like a big, beautiful mosque or a civic center or a publication. But when it comes to the work of CAIR, we actually don't have those physical markers. But what we have is an entire swath of work that is aimed for establishing the quality of our lives, freedom of expression, and our freedom to practice our faith. And so we need to know that it's the people at CAIR and here today at CAIR-Florida that will be the torchbearers that are going to guarantee this for us all. Thank you so much. Wassalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. How beautiful and uplifting your words, Dr. Fahmy. Thank you so much. Specifically about the issue of dignity and to return dignity and pride and love for who you are and not to run away from it. And I think that, you know, your research and everything that you're saying really absolutely highlights the importance of what CAIR-Florida and organizations like it do. So thank you so much. Wishing you a very, very happy Ramadan with your family.
If I can interject here 1 second.
Yes.
I can't believe that we're only looking for $40,000 and you said that you give away $2 million in free legal service a year?
Yes.
$2 million in free legal service and each case filing is $500,
yeah.
Which means we're looking just to support a handful of case filings.
Yes.
So I promise you, and I'm going to do it now, I'm going to get off this and go to all of my family and make them donate. And I challenge all of us to do this because it's almost embarrassing that we're having a $40,000 fundraiser for $2 million in free legal services.
God bless you, Dr. Fahmy. Yeah, and I think that we can do it. It's been so difficult, I think, to get people to be galvanized online, but we just want to remind you that the work still continues. The need is still here. It might be that we can't see each other physically, but our hearts are connected and the need is still there. So we're hoping that people will help us serve. Thank you, Dr. Fahmy.
Dr. Dalia, also, if I can interject real quick. Sorry, Yasmin, really we're touched by your support. I remember when we were at the RIS conference earlier this year and I heard you speaking about Islamophobia and I said, we have to get you in Florida. So inshallah, we'd love to invite you and your family to join us. When the banquets open up, we want you to keynote. So I hope you'll accept that invitation. And we're moved not just by your research and your studies, but also your personal effort to encourage your family to support it. And it's amazing because when I look at the Muslim community, those who are doing the most are often the ones that are also giving the most and supporting the most. So thank you so much for all of your efforts and the great example you set for our children. May Allah accept from you. And we look forward to having you in Florida, inshallah, as soon as
my pleasure.
Are over. Keep us in your du'as and send salam to the family. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I just want to reiterate everything that Dr. Fahmy said speaks to the importance of what CAIR-Florida does in the political landscape. So I want to explain that the voter registration drives that CAIR-Florida does, they have to be funded, they have to be supported. And this critical work, like Hassan Shibly told us, can swing an entire election. So they reach out to elected officials, they speak with them in the state, they make sure that Muslims are represented, their needs and their wants are right there in front of the very people that promise to represent and serve them. I want to just remind you that just $500 will cover the expenses of a case filing for somebody in legal services, that $5,000 will sponsor positive media coverage. You know, Hassan told us that, you know, the CAIR-Florida, all their donations have actually turned into $120 million worth of positive media coverage. But this is what's important. That's why, you know, $5,000 might seem like it's a lot, but it's actually just like a drop in the bucket in terms of media and advertising. And at $1,000, you can cover someone's immigration case, which we'll get to later in our advocacy section. And so I want to now turn to a video that we have presented here from elected officials in support of CAIR-Florida.
Assalamu alaikum, my Muslim brothers and sisters.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Such a holy occasion for all of us to celebrate.
Just wanted to reach out and offer my best wishes.
I hope you and your family are safe and healthy.
I'd like to thank Tampa's Muslim community for your generosity shown to all people within this great city.
Islam teaches us about kindness, charity, and unity.
I want to thank the Muslim community for the generosity shown so many as you put your faith into practice by giving of your time to help the less fortunate and by feeding so many within our community.
The Muslim community has done so much for our entire community, and it has certainly not gone unnoticed.
Our Muslim friends are showing that hatred can be turned to love and appreciation, one heart at a time.
I'd like to thank CAIR-Florida for all the amazing work you do in protecting the civil rights of those who practice the Muslim faith.
Many acts of kindness and generosity of CAIR and its members are true indicators of a loving and faith-filled people. I would like to thank CAIR-Florida for the tireless work protecting the civil rights of Americans of Muslim faith.
Educating the public and building bridges and bringing us all closer together as Americans.
Thank you so much for your voter registration efforts, because certainly exercising the right to vote is a part of the civil rights process.
I want to encourage you to make sure you're registered to vote and make sure you have a plan for voting in the 2020 elections. I recommend voting by mail. Your voice is important, and our office is here to serve you.
Let me end where I began, which is wishing you all a Ramadan Mubarak.
Peace be with you, dear friends. Ramadan Kareem.
Thank you all so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Have a happy Ramadan and stay safe.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Enjoy this holy season, and God bless you all.
That's really lovely. That's really lovely. And, just a great snippet here of all of the different elected officials that CAIR-Florida reaches out to make sure that Muslims feel heard and seen and respected. I am so excited to be introducing to you our next two speakers here to talk about all of the advocacy work that CAIR-Florida entails, including its legal department. And one person you've already heard from, which is Rania Al-Jindi, with a hard G. She's the director of programs and outreach, really behind all of this hard work that we're seeing here. She's behind the Zoom. And then Tanya Clevenger, who's the operations director and the acting civil rights director. So I will let them tell you all about what CAIR-Florida is up to.
Thank you, Yasmin. And
before you do, Rania, I gotta shake things up. I gotta shake things up a little bit.
So you never shake things up, but what do you mean?
So what I do, I create trouble for you, Tanya. Listen, this week I did 2 fundraisers for Masajid, and alhamdulillah, 3 actually, and each one of them we raised over $100,000 for the Masajid, which is critical. These are our centers of worship. But CAIR-Florida's institution that protects these Masajid. I'm a little bit nervous right now because when I last checked on Facebook, we've only raised $5,000. And what I need is everybody watching this video right now, please take a moment and look in your heart and see how much have you contributed to fighting Islamophobia, to defending our faith, to defending justice, to defending Muslim prisoners. And if you haven't done so yet this year, click the donate button or go to our Launch Good page or call the number that Ronnie was showing on the screen. And right now, make a donation between you and Allah that, Ya Allah, I'm contributing this to defend our faith and to defend justice in these challenging times. We need your support. We can't do this fight without you. Every dollar will go a long way. And I think Yasmin is going to leave some time later for me to do a longer hard pitch. And I will save my sort of speech for that time. But real quick, as we're doing, sorry?
I said, I want you to stop interrupting these women.
I will try.
Okay, we have to speak for justice, even if it's against us.
Okay, I will be quiet, but just click the donate button. Ladies, go ahead. I surrender.
You're a good man. You're a good man, Hassan. The only reason I'm telling you this is because you're my friend. Don't take this guy seriously. Seriously, I'm a
You're
joke.
right. You're right.
But
So
please,
click the donate
Ronnie,
button. I'll speak later. Yalla, salam alaikum.
yes, you can speak later. Ronnie and Tanya, please take it away.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Yasmin. And thank you for protecting us. You're maintaining that CAIR-Florida mandate, alhamdulillah. So actually, I'm really blessed to be joined with our operations director and acting civil rights director, Ms. Tanya Clevenger, who is honestly the star of the show here. She has, mashallah, been with the organization for, I think, close to 10 years or about 10 years now, mashallah, with Hassan from the get-go. It's wildly entertaining to watch them. If you think you're getting a little bit of a sneak peek on this Zoom call, it's wildly entertaining to watch them banter back and forth in the office. It makes for quite the entertainment. But what I really want to share is, besides my being inspired by Tanya, to be honest, because when you have non-Muslims, and one of the things that people might not know is actually the diversity of the CAIR-Florida staff. So CAIR-Florida staff is made of people of every background, people of every faith background, people of every racial background, people of different national origins. And when you have people who are non-Muslims saying that, I will stand for you, I will defend the rights of Muslims in this country, because if the rights of some are being, are not being seen, then that affects all of us, right? Then that's a threat to all of us. And so that's where this theme that we have for the telethon today, which was really defend your family, protect your family and your community. And look, if we have allies that are defending us, then how can we as Muslims not put our best foot forth and put the support that we need to defend our community and be active participants in that process. And so before I turn it over to Tanya, I honestly wanted to share a very moving testimonial that we had gotten from one of our legal clients. She'll be able to speak about all of our legal work, or the over $2 million, like we said, in services that are provided. But we had this testimony come in, and it's raw, it's unedited, and I honestly just wanted to read it out to you guys so you can really feel the impact of what our services provide. So I'll just read it out. 3 years ago, I arrived to the States. I ran away from death. I came here to Florida, and I did not have family or job. I was worried about my status. A friend of mine told me about CAIR. I remembered the first time I called them, I could not afford to visit, even though their representative said, you do not need to pay us anything, just come and we will do our best to help you. And that's exactly what happened. I was lucky I had CAIR to represent me. They treated me as a brother. They helped me file my claim and helped me succeed as well. Even when I got an interview, I was so nervous. They calmed me down, and my lawyer, Mr. Sitcha, which we are going to hear from in a bit, inshallah, he traveled with me to Miami and he attended the interview with me. That was a relief for me. I knew that they were standing up for me, that they would do everything to protect me. Till now, I call them and I ask to speak to Mr. Sitcha about every single detail, and I am always so welcomed anytime. I was represented better than I could have ever imagined. My needs were put first, and I was treated as a friend rather than a number. My opinions were valued, and my doubts were always reassured. My nerves were calmed, and the process was always explained to me. Mr. Robert Sitcha and his team fought hard for me. They went above and beyond and did everything they could to ensure a great outcome. I couldn't have asked for a better law firm or attorney. Thank you, guys. CAIR is here to protect us. They are always there when we need them. We should support them too. We should do everything possible to keep CAIR. They fight for us. Without them, we will be vulnerable to harm. And I think, there's no better way for me to say it. That's just from the words of one of the many people that, alhamdulillah, we're able to protect with this work. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Tanya Clevenger to give you a bit more of a background about our legal advocacy work, alhamdulillah. Tanya, go ahead.
There's really no better way to really talk about our legal work than that letter. And excuse me for getting emotional, but we hear these cases, these raw cases come in. There's 80 calls that we get a month. People looking for help, and if we can't help them, we try to direct them the right place. So thank you, Rania, for sharing that with all of us and for your kind introduction. This team has changed my life. Being part of CAIR-Florida has absolutely been that rewarding dream that I think so many of us advocates can only dream of, right? And you talk about our religious backgrounds and why we chose to defend that people call people who call others. And the reality is I joined the civil rights work because I was an other, right? Because I'm Latina and a woman, and you get judged and you deal with all these issues, right? And then you learn that there's so many others who are being affected, from the Muslim community to the Black and African American community. Immigrants as a whole over the last 4 years have been targeted. And if we don't do this, if every single American doesn't stand up for the principles of equity and justice and freedom for all, and those things that we hold so dear to the foundation of our Constitution, then what are we doing? Why would we even consider doing it? So it's been a pleasure to really see the work that we do, how it impacts everybody's life. And I'm really glad to be here with everybody today. So just a little bit of numbers to kind of put it out there for you guys. So again, we get about 835 calls on average a year for legal support. We take about 500 of them. We provide some level of service. And actually, I want to add a little caveat to this 2 million. This 2 million represents our civil rights work. We're just under 2 million. And if you add on to that the immigration cases, which currently we have about 200 open cases, because they could sit open for years while people sit in limbo waiting to see what happens next. So you're talking about somewhere between $3 million in total services if you start to kind of calculate all the different services and all the people we help and refer. And so one of the cases, so we have, you've heard already about our prisoners' rights projects, and that's probably one of our fastest growing areas of law where they're constantly dealing with discrimination. Immigration rights, the travel watch list cases. To me, the most important cases have always revolved around work. If you can't work, you can't live, and you can't protect your family. And I think some of the most heartbreaking cases we've seen that happen every single day involve around employment. And I think, just to share with you guys, I worked with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission for a couple of years prior to joining CAIR. And I saw some horrible things, but yet the things that I see happen to the Muslim community on a regular basis, I think that's why I'm compelled to stay here and make an impact. And hopefully one day we can say Islamophobia is a thing of the past.
Thank you, Tanya. I think that's beautiful. Yes, thank you. There's really nothing better to add. So Yasmin, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to you.
Yeah, we're really so thrilled that someone like Tanya and you are both working for the organization, but you can't do it for free. You have to have support. And I understand just how difficult the situation has now become because of COVID-19 and the lack of fundraising capability for organizations like CAIR-Florida. So it's so important that we don't forget that the need is still here. It's still ever present. And we need to make sure that these people still have, the lights on, that they can still do the important work for the people that need it most. So I'm going to now turn it over to the Florida office for a quick check-in to what's going on at the CAIR-Florida office.
Thanks, Yasmin. Yes, we're going to introduce actually our South Florida communications director, Wilfredo Ruiz, as well as another attorney that we have, civil rights attorney down in South Florida, Omar Salah. And so they're going to just share a little bit about, the work that we've been doing. As you guys know, CAIR-Florida has 5 offices throughout the states. We transitioned to working remotely immediately following the pandemic. And so they're one of our strong houses in South Florida. So Wilfredo, Omar, are you guys with us?
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah.
Good. Like 10 years ago, I first came to CAIR-Florida as a volunteer. We were only 2 people in the South Florida office, and like 2 others, it was Hassan and Tanya, perhaps another one of our staffers in the Tampa office. That was it. And imagine the situation that we were back then doesn't even compare to the powerhouse that CAIR-Florida is today. We have 8 attorneys and staff working in different capacities. And also we have grown the communications department to be a stronghold, perhaps one of the strongest communications department throughout the nation of the CAIR-Florida offices. The media relations back then were perhaps mild. We were not known as much as we're known now. We have now 13 of our 25 staff members who have been interviewed by the local, state, national media, and in some cases, international media outlets. We have staff members who have been published in the Miami Herald, in the Orlando Sentinel, in the Gainesville Sun, in the Tampa Bay Times, in the Sun Sentinel. interviewed in all the local chains of ABC, CBS, NBC local. We have Hassan and myself who, alhamdulillah, have been interviewed in national media outlets. Hassan have been portrayed in Fox News, in CNN. I have been in CNN en Español. We have been interviewed internationally, France 24, Radio France International, Al Jazeera International. So from being a very quiet chapter 10 years ago, we are now a voice for the Muslim community and Islam internationally. That has been possible only because of your help. You have helped us to build a strong chapter for us to be capable of build strong media relations, where now we're called as a reference of journalists and media directors and editorial boards because they want to consult a story, because they want to consult us as to what Islam, how Islam is portrayed in America, how Islam is portrayed here in Florida. We need your help. We need you to, like Hassan says, go to the donate button right now, $10, $20, $500, as much as you can. Imagine that this is an investment. With $1.5 million total budget that we ran last year's operation, we were capable of being portrayed positively in media stories that are worth over $100 million as per Meltwater. That's a media monitoring device that we have as well. That is possible only because of your help. If you want us to keep being the strong voice of the Muslim community in Florida, if you want us to be considered and heard throughout all media outlets here in Florida, we need your help. With that, I'm going to pass to Omar Saleh, that is our attorney here.
Thank you, everybody. Alhamdulillah for the opportunity to be here. Alhamdulillah to be with such an amazing CAIR-Florida team. Wilfredo, this is my brother right here, and brother Hassan. You know, there's 33 chapters nationwide, and alhamdulillah, I really feel like I'm part of the best CAIR-Florida chapter. You heard Hassan talk about our annual budget, $1 million. That's a lot of money, but you think about this. In the past 5 years, Islamophobic organizations have raised over $250 million. They use this money specifically to promote Islamophobia. We're up against a large mountain right now, and the work is going to keep going. You also heard Dr. Fahmy, mashallah, talk about the markers that we use to assess our performance. So some of those markers are tangible and others aren't. You know, for an attorney, we want to look at the number of case filings. But, you know, I'm a litigator, but I think the best litigator is a litigator who can prevent a lawsuit. And alhamdulillah, through our great advocacy work, we educate and we advocate so we don't have to litigate. Alhamdulillah, through the help of Sister Hiba and our prisoners' rights, you know, she's taken those steps so that we avoid the lawsuits, and that's saving time and effort and your resources, which you donate. So it's not like, you know, we're going to hit the lawsuit right away to try to spend that money. We try to conserve our resources. So rest assured that we do that. And it's not just from the prisoners' cases. We do the same thing with our travel cases, even though we do file lawsuits through the tremendous work of Brother Hassan in the background, contacting groups like CBP and Homeland Security to ensure that our clients are traveling safely without even having to file a lawsuit. I just want to share one story, and it has to do with the importance of what our job entails of not just litigating, but advocating and educating. When we sued Miami-Dade County Corrections Facility a few years back for not offering halal meals, I'll never forget that I was in a deposition with a chaplain who considered himself to have an intermediate knowledge of Islam. I asked him, what are the 5 pillars of Islam? He can only name one. He only said prayer. And when I asked him how many times Muslims pray, he said 8. So that just gives you an idea of the knowledge of the people who make decisions on behalf of the Muslims. We need to be there to step up. And alhamdulillah, we have been there to step up. We're a small organization, but alhamdulillah, we're a very strong organization. From prison cases to travel, to school bullying, to KYRs, the Know Your Rights, to dealing with FBI, which I just dealt with one 2 days ago in the midst of the COVID pandemic, you know, I'm fielding calls with FBI trying to harass our clients. People being abused by their homeowners association, mosques and masajid being vandalized, media and immigration and harassment of our Muslim brothers and sisters. There's no other organization in Florida that does as much of a comprehensive work as CAIR does, alhamdulillah. So think about that. Think about that. $250 million, which people spend in the cause against Islamophobia. We have a budget. The more you help us, the more we can fight back, and inshallah we'll do that. I can go on forever, but you know, it's 6:48. The smell of iftar should be permeating through all your houses. Alhamdulillah, inshallah, and Ramadan Mubarak to everybody, inshallah.
Ramadan Kareem, alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for your amazing work as two important public advocates for service and in the prophetic way. Thank you. So I want to now go to a man who was kicking us off with the Quran earlier, and now we'll be doing a short nasheed and then come back again after Hassan Shibly. Please don't leave, because I know iftar is getting close, but we're so soon to wrapping up, and so soon to you eating your delicious foods. So I'm going to introduce again internationally renowned Quranic writer, nasheed artist and poet Faisal Latif. Now, are you ready, Faisal?
I am ready.
You want to do this, bro?
Let's do it. All right. So the nasheed that I'm gonna sing, inshallah, is called it's an original. It's called Endless Confusion. And inshallah, after this, once Hassan finishes, I'll do another piece. It'll be poetry. So this is called Endless Confusion, and it's on YouTube.
This is one of my favorites. That's all I want to say.
Endless confusion plays on my mind. I know all my wrongs, but I can't turn them right. Endless confusion plays on my mind. Oh Allah, please guide this broken heart of mine. I see all your signs, but I turn a blind eye. Spiraling down in the spiritual decline. Oh Allah, oh Allah, Allah, Allah. Oh Allah, 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 Allah. Ilahi, what would you say to your Lord about why you went astray? What would you say to your Lord about all those wasted days? What would you say to your Lord? So few of those days you prayed. He's always waiting for us, but we refuse to be saved. So busy drowning in sin. So many truths we betrayed. So many people we've hurt. Never thinking about the day, that day of recompense, when our deeds are weighed. Yeah, Majid, please never ever let me stray. Yeah, Majid, bring me under your mercy shade. Endless confusion plays on my mind. I know all my wrongs, but I can't turn them right. Endless confusion plays on my mind. Oh Allah, please guide this broken heart of mine. I see all your signs, but I turn a blind eye. Spiraling down in the spiritual decline. Oh Allah, oh Allah, Allah, Allah. Oh Allah, 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 Ilahi.
Allah, Allah. Barakallahu feek ya Faisal. So we'll see you soon, inshallah.
Sounds good, Ukhti Yasmin.
So I want to just give the floor to Hassan Shibly, even though he's been fighting to wrestle it away from our hands.
No, let me get it first. Wait, I think I want to have something to say.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay. Me too. I love you guys. Thank you for everything.
Can you interrupt him? Can Rania interrupt? Can you?
Thank you, Tanya. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were seriously saying you love us. We love you too. We love everyone for joining us. No, I wanted to jump in and say, I wish Hassan would have told me. I would have, saved the MC for something else. No, I'm just joking.
Oh, yeah.
Together.
Oh my God. Hassan, those are some sick burns. Sick burns.
I was going to say, I actually don't want to know. I want Faisal to go again. That was so beautiful.
He will. Right after you. Go, Hassan, go.
All right. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu rasul. Listen, now since I'm speaking, I can't text all the donors to tell them to join, so I'm going to rely on all you to hype me up and invite everybody to join us. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. As we've witnessed Ramadan like no other, we've been blessed to find so many hidden blessings in this Ramadan. Perhaps it's more time with family, and I will tell you, Ramadan for us is a time when we raise our funds to do the work for the rest of the year, but it's also the time where we raise our spiritual funds, where we get the energy to do what we're doing for the rest of the year and to protect our community and to fight Islamophobia. That requires sincerity. It requires tawakkul, trust in Allah. It requires ihsan. It requires so many of those qualities that we can only achieve through sincere reflection, through prayer, through dhikr. And unfortunately, because we have our fundraising work by day, it makes it a lot more challenging to do the worship that we wish to do by night. And I remember the previous Ramadans, every day we're in the car 5, 6, 7, 8 hours driving to a different masjid every night to fundraise for the community. And our family pays a big price. Our personal spiritual growth also pays a price. And honestly, I've loved this Ramadan in the sense that because of all of CAIR-Florida's fundraisers being canceled, I've had a lot more time to focus on that, which is more important. I'm very grateful for that. So alhamdulillah. But I will say, us missing out on 40 fundraisers is also very problematic. And I'll be, and subhanAllah, Allah never takes, He only gives. And alhamdulillah, we got that $180,000 grant from the government, but absent that, we'd be in trouble. I mean, we right now we're barely at 300,000. We would have been $200,000 short. So alhamdulillah, Allah doesn't take without giving, and that grant is a big protection for us, bifadlillah. But I do want your support. Let us at least on the Facebook fundraiser raise at least $10,000 in support of CAIR-Florida's efforts to protect our faith and our community. And I'm actually logged into Facebook, and I can see your comments. Actually, I'm clicking in to see the comments. Join in, participate in the conversation. If you can donate $1,000, if there's anybody right now watching us who can donate $1,000 for our faith, for our community, to defend justice, put it in the comments box. Start us off. I need a few people. And so if we can find 4 people who can commit that $1,000 donation, we'll reach 10,000 there. And it will go a long way. My brothers and sisters, what you're doing when you donate to CAIR-Florida is you're taking your wealth from your Bank of the Dunya account, which is temporary, which perishes, which has a guaranteed expiration date, and you're transferring it to your Bank of the Akhirah account that is eternal, that has the best ROI. Allah promises every dollar. This is outside of Ramadan. Every dollar you trust Allah with to defend our faith and to defend justice and to fight Islamophobia and to defend those who are oppressed is multiplied by Allah minimum 700-fold. Minimum 700-fold. That's outside of Ramadan. And there's other ahadith that indicate whatever you do in Ramadan is multiplied even times another 70. So right now, you're literally, every dollar you spend, you're getting thousands of rewards, thousands of blessings. So trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with this wealth. If you keep this wealth back for yourself, you will lose it. It will perish with your last breath. But the wealth you trust Allah with will last forever. So I am waiting. I'm reading in the comment section. Is there anybody, if you can make any donation, any amount, put it in the comment section and encourage others to match you, encourage others to follow your example. This is a tremendous blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If He takes from your wealth to use it in defense of the deen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us. He says, وَأَنْفِقُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. Spend in the path of Allah and don't lead yourself to destruction. What this means is the enemies of Islam, they're spending to take away our faith and our freedom, to undermine our rights. And if they spend out of their hatred and we don't spend out of our love for our faith, then we will be doomed when they succeed in promoting the anti-Muslim laws, when they succeed in inspiring anti-Muslim hate crimes. So we really need to do what we can to spend to invest in protecting our faith and our community. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mashallah, Ala-ad-Din, one of our own staff members, one of our own employees just made a donation. May Allah bless you and accept from you. Follow his example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. You will not attain righteousness and piety until you give from that which you love. So when you give a donation, make sure it's something that you love. How do you know you love it? Well, you feel a little bit of pain when you make that contribution. Give something that you feel some pain in giving for the sake of Allah, and through that pain you find sweetness that, Ya Allah, it was tough times, it was challenging times, but I made that sacrifice for your sake, so that there's no Muslim prisoner who is harassed for their faith, except that CAIR is there to protect them. There's no sister who has her hijab pulled off or removed, except that the CAIR legal team is ready to vindicate her and protect her. My brothers and sisters, we need your support to protect our faith, to protect our community. When Allah accepts from us for this noble cause, it's indeed a tremendous blessing. What is sadaqah? What is charity? Sadaqah is simply entrusting your wealth with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you acknowledge that what is with Allah is forever and what you keep back is temporary. Support CAIR-Florida in this work. I'll be honest, I am fundraised out. This past week, I've had to do about 4 or 5 fundraisers for different masajid. And man, it was easy, to be honest. I mean, with the fundraisers for the masajid, we started at $25,000, and people at every one of those fundraisers, we raised over $100,000 for the masajid, and that is very important. But understand, I can't tell you how many times CAIR-Florida had to get involved when they wanted to shut down a masjid, they wanted to prohibit a masjid from opening, and CAIR-Florida assisted free of charge so that our masajid can run without any harassment. I can't tell you how many imams called CAIR-Florida because the FBI is harassing them, and CAIR-Florida got the FBI off your imams back. My brothers and sisters, what good can our masajid be if our imams cannot teach and cannot serve us without fear of the FBI harassing them? CAIR-Florida was there for those imams. May Allah bless Brother Rashid for your generous donation. Alhamdulillah, we're at 6,400. If we can get 6 people watching to each make a $100 donation, we'll reach 7,000 with that. My brothers and sisters, I'm going to keep this very short because, like I mentioned, I'm fundraised out. We need your support. Remember, in Ramadan, we have 40 of these fundraisers, and alhamdulillah, at every one of these fundraisers, we usually raise $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. This Ramadan, we just have this program. So we really are counting on your support. You can see on the screen how to donate. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from all of you every effort that you've done. Don't hold back. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves those who spend and who give. And really, I will just finish with this. I can't think of a greater gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and a greater honor than the fact that for the last almost 10 years now, He's allowed me to work with people like Tanya, Wilfredo, our entire team, for the purpose of protecting those who say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And inshallah, if that effort was done sincerely, I have no doubt that we will be reaping the benefits of that for all eternity. That Allah's chosen us to defend justice, to defend those who are oppressed on account of their devotion to Him, that defend those who are discriminated against because of how He created them, because of the color of their skin or their language. That's a big gift. And the credit really and the reward goes to all of our donors that make our work possible. I can't tell you how many times I've seen imams, community leaders, sisters, daughters, husbands, fathers in tears because of the support CAIR-Florida has offered them. We've changed their lives. You know, we're talking about bullying. I'll never forget one day I was tired. I said, we're doing too many programs. I should just stay home a little bit. And after the program, a little girl came to me as if Allah was telling me, Hassan, keep going. She said, Brother Shibly, thank you for coming tonight. You make me feel safe to be Muslim. That's why we do what we do, to make our children, our daughters, our sons feel safe that there are followers of Muhammad Rasulullah who will donate to support making our children feel safe. Just like when our beloved Imam Murphy, he said, Hassan, you know, I felt at that moment when they were targeting me, when the government was targeting me because of my religion, I felt that you guys had my back. The greatest act of ibadah is that you relieve the hardship of your brothers and sisters, or you enter happiness into their hearts. And that's what CAIR-Florida does. So thank you so much. I want to thank Sister Yasmin for putting up with my antics. Not much has changed since the intern days, still annoying and interrupting. But alhamdulillah, honestly, we got to do more programs with you. You're a great MC. And I also want to extend the invitation. Once our banquets are up and running, I want you to be our MC. Inshallah, we'd be honored, really, if you would accept the invitation. I hate to put you on the spot in front of like all of our viewers.
I mean, I accept the invitation because I like you in particular, but because of what CAIR-Florida does. And you know, I lived in Florida. I'm a Florida licensed attorney, for those of you who don't know that.
Yo, come join. You know we're hiring.
All right, well, I have my own job up here, but yeah, but like, you know, if I need one, Thank you, Hassan. God bless you. I got like a husband and kids, whatever.
Bring them along. We'll hire them too.
Yeah, I'm into child labor. I feel like they should. That's going to make them safe to feel Muslim.
Yeah.
Work. No, I'm so moved by your words. I know you're tired. I can hear it in your voice. And the thing is that because you shouldn't have to shoulder the burden by yourself. That's what crowdfunding is supposed to do. That's what being a community is supposed to be about. We're supposed to be able to shoulder some of the difficulty together. And the most beautiful thing about Ramadan, when we don't have community in the traditional sense, when we don't have the measure that we're going to, is that we can be a community just like this. We can be focused on giving, and nothing that you give won't come directly back to you to enrich your life. And like you said, your wealth will never be decreased when you give in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's way, and He knows your intention better than anyone else. And in the Quran, He reminds us in one of the most beautiful ayahs, and me and Faisal, we've been on many different programs, and me and him go back and forth about this. But sometimes he mentions the verse, sometimes I mention the verse. Since you did not mention the verse, Faisal, I'm gonna mention it right now from Surah Al Imran. The most beautiful verse 92. You will not attain birr. You will not attain righteousness until you give of what you love. لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون. You will not attain the closeness to Allah, that righteousness, until you give of what you love. And let me tell you what you love. You love your security. You love knowing when the next paycheck's coming. You love knowing that you're going to be safe. And sometimes we don't know those things. Sometimes, especially right now, we don't know if we'll be able to make that donation. But if you do, your future will be bright. And the why it'll be bright is because God will draw you so close and so near to Him. I'm going to share one quick story before Faisal. I do fundraising all over the country. Okay, Faisal, all over the country. And a woman came to one of my fundraising events, and she heard me because I was unemployed for 10 months. I've got like 5 degrees. I was unemployed for 10 months, and I would have probably gone to work for Hassan. But God got me a job. But God only gave me a job after I actually sold an item of mine because I had no money. I had to borrow money to cover my rent costs. Both me and my husband were unemployed at the same time. I had to sell some of my items. And I remember giving and asking God to please help me to find a job. So thankfully, I did. And I got an excellent job. Some woman was in the audience very moved by this. Her and her husband were both unemployed for several months. And she gave. 2 weeks later, she ends up in my DMs on Instagram at YasGuru. 2 weeks later, she ends up not just getting another job, a job that paid her twice as much as the job she lost. Her husband was so moved by this that he ended up giving, and he got his own job. He got a job as well just weeks after that. So she told me, when she told me this story, she said, I didn't think it was possible that God would give in ways that we couldn't imagine. But it's true that God will give you min haythu la yahtasib, from a place that you cannot fully understand or fathom in this moment. So I hope that everyone can give very easily. Launch Good, Defend and Protect 1, CAIR-Florida. Just text them 26989 or the phone call if you're if uncomfortable about putting anything inside of an online system, and make sure that you give, because I promise you, things that seemed impossible can be made possible when you give when it's difficult. Thank you, Faisal. So for entertaining me, talking for so long. I'm so excited to hear your final and fantastic spoken word. And Hassan is going to interrupt us. No? Okay.
You hype me up way too much, but I can't.
I have to interrupt you, Faisal, because if I don't, I'm going to get accused of only interrupting the ladies.
Here we go.
Donate to CAIR. Donate to CAIR. And listen, I'm very excited. I already texted my team at the next banquet. We got to have a reunion in person. So I want Faisal to do the nasheed. If you could do whatever you want, because I interrupted you so many times.
Yeah. I'm just going to do comedy. Just comedy.
Comedy. That'd be sick. We haven't not had a comedian at our
the sunlight is reflecting off your beard, bro.
What?
The sunlight's reflecting off your beard. What do you put in it?
From your beautiful face, my brother.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
And we'll have to have Dalia Fahmy and AbdelRahman too. It's gonna be awesome. Anyway, that's enough interrupting. Jazakallah for everybody. Stay tuned because Faisal's about to kill it with some beautiful songs and
he's gonna kill it in the most non-violent way. Here we go.
The most peaceful Islamic way. Thank you, though. I do want to say for everybody who tuned in, thank you. Please share this video, encourage others to donate. Before we end, we'll also leave on the screen the different ways of donating. I'm excited, man. We're going to have an amazing year in 2020 and 2021. We've learned a lot, and we're going to come back so much stronger. Jazakallah khairan. Faisal, the floor is yours, my brother. Sorry for interrupting.
Appreciate it, bro. Jazakallah khair. All right, here we go. Bismillah. So I'm going to do two pieces of poetry, inshallah. One of these is on YouTube. The first one is on YouTube. It's called I See Me Losing Everything. And the second one, we'll get to it later, inshallah. So this one's called I See Me Losing Everything. And it's about making the most of your life, inshallah. Here we go. I see me losing everything. I know I'm losing everything. Angels on my shoulders turn to stone by evil energy. My shaitan, he's been my enemy, always coming after me. See, I know the trials in my life will lead me to discovery. Found my heart inside the scripture. Now the Quran is my soul's melody. And when the angel comes for me, I pray I've left a legacy of children who can understand their fate without society, lying to their face and facing them with animosity. A wife that knew I did my best, protecting all my family. I sense I'm losing everything, because desire wants my everything. I know once death touches me, the dunya, I'll lose everything. See, my heart hasn't always been with God, so here's some honesty. All I crave now is as-sirat al-mustaqim. So tell me, what's a king to Allah? What's deen if your belief isn't truly in your heart? The dream is Jannah bound, praying side by side with Rasulullah. What's the point of life if you up and leave Allah? See, I've been in the masjid, knees planted firm, afraid of the flames of the fire it would burn. The deeds I am chasing are the dreams that I will earn. Death is everywhere, and soon enough it'll be our turn. So before you're in a hearse, before you're in the dirt, learn about your faith, then you'll learn about your worth. See, Satan, he was cursed before Adam took the fruit. He inspired to grow deep within me and you, confusing your identities. Man, you must be losing you. So you force yourself to gain and swear that money is your truth. But when you die, you'll realize all that money you will lose. Any fame that you obtained ends up becoming so minute. See, you can see, even still, we let it blind we let it blind you. You see, I see me losing everything. I see me losing everything. The grave is calling me and I pick up without the words to say. Regret is on my mind from the times I didn't pray. I could have prayed and saved my soul, but sadly I was in a chase, caught up in this life, this delusional race. See, I've been digging my own grave from the moment of my birth. God gave me a shovel to define my time in the dirt. I swear I'm losing everything. I swear I'm losing everything. Lowered in my grave, I swear I'll lose everything. And that is, I'm losing everything. That is on YouTube. You can see the video there, inshallah. I actually buried myself for this video, so go check it out, inshallah. It's on YouTube.
That's some serious dedication, Faisal. Good Lord.
What'd you say?
That's some serious dedication. You buried yourself alive.
Not entirely, but yeah.
He asked me to participate. I was like, I cannot participate in that. But I do want to add a point that this is just a powerful reminder.
Oh my God.
This is why you should donate. When you die, you're going to lose everything except what you donated. So click the donate button. Guys, we're only $250 short of 7,000 on Facebook. And I think total, we've already raised about 15,000. So alhamdulillah, we're making some progress. May Allah bless you all. Jazakallah khairan. All right, that was my last interruption. The floor is yours to close out.
I don't know why that happened. Keep going.
No, you're good.
Do I have permission to continue, Hassan?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, my brother.
All right, thanks, man.
Anytime. Wait, my question is, when are you going to finish my haircut?
Bro, you're busy.
My brother started a hair. Sorry, I got to interrupt with this. Faisal is such a sincere, humble brother that when he heard I needed a haircut so I can do some more CAIR promo videos and not look like the beast from the East, he came over, and this Hafiz with a huge social media following, with a beautiful recitation of the Quran Nasheed, subhanAllah, was like cutting my hair. It was like the most honored, thing that ever happened to me. But he didn't finish. He's like, I'll come back tomorrow to finish. By the time he comes back, I'm gonna need a fresh new haircut. So, and if we reach 10,000 on Facebook, I will go bald. That's what I will do. So we're at 6,750. You guys want to see me bald? I will shave my hair for $3,000.
At 10,000?
Yeah, at 10,000. Let's see if we make it happen. All right, floor is yours now.
That's major.
Bismillah, guys, give with intention. He said he'll go bald, so for 10,000. So come on, it's not a lot. Bismillah. All right, here we go. So this piece is called Intent. This is a conversation that I have with myself. It was inspired by the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he says, among the first people who will be tossed into the fire is the hafiz and the reciter who recited so that people could compliment his voice, or the student of knowledge who sought knowledge so that people can say, oh, mashallah, he's so knowledgeable. And that's a hadith that I think about often doing what I do. And this is where this piece came from, and it's called intent. Here we go. Bismillah. What am I doing this for? Is it my Lord that I seek? Is it the pleasure of people, or am I focused on a temporary feat? Is my mind in the right place, heartbeat after heartbeat? Have I wasted too many minutes? Is my clock aimlessly on repeat? See, I fear showing up on that day, having lived my own deceit, being among those who are destined, having deeds only worthy of the heat. What am I doing this for? Is it my Lord that I seek? Do I steal from my own actions? Am I my own thief? Will I be from the rewarded, or a means of my own defeat? If this is my reality, to miss out on your divinity, then I beg you now, my Lord, take this fame away from me. See, I'm a superficial slave. I only remember you when I struggle, when the world's got me down and I'm feeling hurtful. I don't care at all of how neglectful my heart had become, superficial. See, I opened 2 gifts this morning. They were my eyes. You had mercy on me, so now I realize. You returned my soul, even though my heart hasn't been alive. You gave me another chance, and now I fantasize of being close to you for eternity and beholding you with these very eyes. But see, the struggle is real. My consciousness is surreal. My Lord, I know you know how I feel. Please don't ever let this heart be sealed or blind to my madness. You know what I conceal. Please keep me hidden, my sins unrevealed. Teach me sincerity from my deeds I don't want to steal. To you, your mercy, love and guidance do I kneel. In humbling myself to you, only then can I heal. What is your intent? And that is intent. Alhamdulillah.
Allah. 2 gifts that you opened today were your eyes. And don't forget your mouth too. So barakallahu feek. Barakallahu feek. You know what I mean?
Thing, bro.
You know what? I can say what I want to say. No, I'm just joking. We really appreciate it, Faisal. I want to just close out the night telling everyone that I know you're hungry. I know you're hungry, but we're hungry for justice. We're hungry for service. We're hungry for support. And that story of that woman who came to me and saying, she got a job because she gave when it was in a very difficult time in her life, that her husband was so inspired that he also gave. Sometimes we don't give because we think, oh, well, I don't know if I'm going to get something in return. But you have to understand that God's promise is that it will be returned. But we can't do the important work at CAIR-Florida without your support, without your help. So $15,000 is great. It's still $25,000 away from 40K. And that's where the organization really needs to be. I hope that you guys can follow the example of what Ustad AbdelRahman Murphy talked about, which is, how do we become people of truth and sincerity and honor, like like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, when he's questioning whether or not he's being expelled from Mecca, and he's like the Meccan, and so he's questioning what is it about him that has put him in this corner, a place of vulnerability. We all here are in a place of vulnerability. If we're listening to Dr. Dalia Fahmy, where she's talking to us about how children are feeling scared to be who they are, how they're being bullied by their teachers at school, how they don't have the support they need. How can you be the support for them? When we're hearing from the inmates who need our support so dearly to be able to have rights to perform their religion, to be able to fast and to break their fast and to have Eid and to feel like human beings, you are restoring their humanity. And God will give you, I promise, he will return for you pound for pound, but at an even greater amount than you can imagine. And it reminds me of Surah Al-Imran, when Zakaria alayhi salam, he enters upon Maryam alayhi salam, and she has fruits and beautiful things that are totally out of season. And he feels so inspired by that he gets on his knees and he makes dua to Allah. He says, oh Allah, if you have given Maryam fruit out of season, maybe you can give me a child out of season, because I am of advanced age. My wife is of advanced age. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered his call, and he gave him Yahya. He gave him Yahya alayhi salam. He gave him his beautiful son. So if there's something that maybe you are searching for that you haven't gotten yet this Ramadan, give with intentionality, like our brother Faisal is reminding us. Give with intentionality, not just to make Hassan Shibly go bald, which is a good goal. I think, because it'll feel like he went to Hajj, right? I think like he performed Umrah. But the point I'm trying to make is give with intentionality for what you need, and Allah will, I promise, answer your call. And let us answer the call of the students who very much need our help, the people who need immigration support, the people who need support with legal cases, harassment, discrimination, the people who feel alone with the TSA agents, the people who feel like they have no support being fully themselves, that their only crime is to say, I'm Muslim, and to not be afraid. Support CAIR Florida's important work. I'm going to say goodbye. The final message here in a short video will be from CAIR staff. Go eat, everybody. Go break your fast. You know what I mean? Oh, Hassan's going to say something.
I gotta. This time it's your fault, Yasmin, because I was looking through our donations and I saw a very generous donation from you. So I really want to thank you for that. May Allah bless you. As I say, it's those who are—
I put my money where my mouth is, Hassan.
Exactly. So we need people, and mashallah, thank you for that generous support. Follow her example. Click that donate button.
Let's be sincere. Let's be people of sincerity. Let's not be fakers out here being like, oh, do this and support that, but not actually supporting. If we're not supporting each other, no one will have our back.
And the point you mentioned is so true. Like the more you help others, the more will help you. And I've been in spots in my life where I just really didn't know how to deal with some of the conflicts, some of the issues, some of the challenges I faced. And when I didn't know how to fix my own problems, I said, you know what? Prophet Muhammad SAW promised me, if I help other people with their problems, Allah will solve mine. So I did, and Allah did, and He never disappoints. You will never—
Allah will never disappoint. He is of abundance. He has the ability to fix every single one of your issues, to answer every one of your calls. I know, Faisal, you wanted to say something. Faisal wanted to say something. Go.
Okay, here we go. So real quick off of what Hassan said, Hassan just mentioned a hadith, Wallahu fi auni al-abdi ma kana al-abdu fi auni akhihi. You know, we're here right now on this, and Yasmin, you've heard me say this like on the last 5 events we've been together, but we're here on this telethon right now to support and help our brothers and sisters to seek justice. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Yawm al-Qiyamah, He will say to everybody, Ayn al-mutahabbuna bi jalali. Where are those who loved for one another, who loved for each other, who loved one another for my sake? Because on this day, when there's no other shade but my shade, I want to bless you with my shade. And that is very important, because we are here to love for each other what we love for ourselves. None of us, alhamdulillah, and I pray that none of us have to go through these issues, but there are people who go through these issues on a daily basis, and this is their life currently. And for that reason, it is up to us to love for them what we would love for ourselves and support them. And inshallah, we are here because Allah wants us to have His shade on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So let's give with intention.
We've been chosen, Faisal.
And Yasmin, since everyone's interrupting, I'm going to do it. But I'm just going to say that what you and Hassan have both said, it is true. I've lived it, my own experience. I saw you, I don't think I told you, I saw you in New York in your comedy show in October, I think it was. SubhanAllah, you moved me so much. I gave the most I've ever given at a fundraiser, more than I could afford at the time, definitely. I even, looked at my sister and I was like, what am I doing? I think I'm being crazy. And I did it. And I just said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy for me to kind of pay it off. And if my intention is in the right place. And SubhanAllah, that was October. And then I had one of the hands down best years of my entire life. Got to do so many things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed me with that would have been impossible. Like when I tell you impossible, even going on Hajj when I had never even contemplated, I wasn't planning for it, and getting to go, and all of these things. And then it culminated in me coming to Florida and working for CAIR-Florida, and alhamdulillah, putting my effort into supporting our community, which is a great blessing for me. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being our MC, alhamdulillah. And I hope that everyone does believe that with your intention, whether it's $1, $5, or $100, it will make an impact, inshallah ta'ala. And may Allah accept from everyone on this call and everyone who's viewing, and that's from us. Ameen.
Thank you so much for those beautiful words. And those are the true words, and you got to the birr, you got to the righteousness, you got to that good because you gave in a time of difficulty, because you gave in a way that sort of like broke you, right? So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, bless you, continue to bless you and give you manifold blessings and help people share in that blessing. I put the launchgood.com Defend and Protect One website on my link in my bio for Instagram. I think Faisal is thinking about sharing it as well. Faisal Latif has he has a little tiny Facebook, Instagram following. I don't know what you are on Facebook, but what are you, like over 92,000 people are obsessed with Faisal Latif.
Can you blame them though? Can you blame them?
I can't blame them. I cannot.
I don't have a Facebook. I'm locked out of it. Facebook's not treating me correctly.
Okay, forget the Facebook.
Faisal, come over and pray tahajjud with me tonight. I'm serious.
He's going to share this. Launchgood.com, Defend and Protect One. And inshallah, may you all join in that blessing and hopefully have a blessed rest of your night so that you can eat. Let's see this video from the CAIR staff. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
We're going to show you.
We love you in the jalal of Allah. We love you for the sake of God, because of your humanity.
Like most of us, we're social distancing, but that doesn't mean we're not busy.
Yes, we are staying safe at home, but we are still working for you.
When circumstances change at CAIR-Florida, we adapt. Even with USCIS and immigration court closures,
we're still taking calls here at CAIR-Florida. Please give us a call if you need some legal assistance.
Our immigration department is still working for you.
Our community interaction cannot stop.
Half hour, I'll be recording our bi-weekly Spanish radio program.
In the meantime, doing research
on Ramadan-related issues for Muslims.
We're still up and running.